trim.
I know. You gotta put blades in my rear next time.
Captain.
No, that's fine.
Paris is below playing tonight. She's not in band.
I just got to later.
Up and down and up and down, and every time I do it, I have to clash against the building.
Yeah.
You gotta go over there tonight.
At the end of the game, I'll put it back down.
Oh.
Just got a warm-up shot.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you for having it. Still got a couple minutes. I think he knows the code, so he should be able
You read it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, good evening. It's now 7 o'clock. I'll call this meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order. Roll call, please, Heather.
Alderman Angel.
Here.
Alderman Borman.
Yes.
Alderman Wilkins. Alderman Magley.
Here.
Alderman Sanders.
Here.
Alderman Simmons. Here.
All right. Alderman Wilkins is ill tonight, so keep them in your thoughts. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In light of the incidents that happened on Friday in Connecticut, I would ask that we have a moment of silence and recall those families that are suffering their losses and laying their loved ones to rest this week. the consent agenda. Don't have any comments or changes that need to be made for the,
Merrick pointed out that I spelled Mr. Stevens' last name and it's been corrected on the copy that we posted at the end. Okay.
I move we approve the consent agenda with the corrections as noted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Accounts payable over $12.50.
I move we approve the accounts payable over $1,250 with a grand total of $362,326.15.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve accounts payable over $1,250 in the amount of $362,326.15. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, approved. Okay, at this time I'll open the floor for comments from citizens. If you have any comments to make, please approach the mic and state your name and address for the record and make your comments.
Don Bagley, 711 East Brick Street, Centralia. Talked to you the other day about property maintenance, and we have secured, I think the original book that got lost, but we've secured one. We've got a copy of the property maintenance code. I'd like to encourage you to look at it, take the time to look at it. It can be controversial, but I think it can be an extremely useful tool to the city. And all the way through. And in all probability, if you ever decide to put it on the agenda, you're probably going to have a hearing on it, because there will be, it is a controversial thing, and there'll probably have to be a hearing. But I would encourage you all to take the time to look at it and at least give it some consideration.
As a code adopted by reference, there'll have to be a 60-day advertising period and then a public hearing before we can take action on it.
Right. Yeah, I figured that would be the case. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Any other comments from citizens? Okay. Hearing none, the economic development report.
I don't know if you all have seen this, the Purchase with a Purpose kit.
Some of us have.
Okay, well, in the kits, each business gets 2 of these posters, 2 of these shelf signs that they can put special pricing, for example, and move it around the store when people show their cards. And these are counter signs. And then this is the card that they will give to customers that they can show for special offers, drawings. You know, Jet Angel's doing a year-long drawing.
Okay. I know DC's is doing a drawing also.
Yeah.
A couple other ones are.
Yeah, so they're just starting to get that going. Community for Kids, we instituted a little bit different policy this year. And are requiring them to disclose what their income is, and if they get food stamps, and all of that. This year we only have 26 families. And about 51 kids, so that's about half of what we had last year. We had an extra angel tree at 4 Chevrolet. And so I think at this point all the angels have been picked up.
Okay.
There might be some still out at CNR for grocery gift cards. Because we try to provide food for all those who are in need of having food. Churches are helping. Hubble is helping once again. I think they have 6 families that they are going to do. So that stuff is hopefully going to be distributed as the week goes on. Some of the families I have completely taken care of already. There are some others that, I'm still waiting on some stuff. The ladies at the Baptist church will do the wrapping tomorrow night. So after we pick that stuff up on Wednesday, we'll be able to distribute that stuff. Key Club provided us with quite a bit of food, so that's going to help. Not every family needed food, some of them do,
Okay.
and so we'll be able to provide that. Also,
Was that also just, one of the changes this year, was that just for Centralia residents?
yes, and I had to turn some people away
Okay.
because they were grandparents the grandchildren do not live here. And I didn't want to open it up to, then the next thing you know, we're helping people in Sturgeon and Clark and Hallsville. I mean, I actually had a lady call today and say, can I get a gift for my daughter? And I said, how old is she? And she said 32.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
so you just never know.
Right, thanks.
So what'd you tell her?
I told her she was too old for the age.
Thanks, right.
Yeah, but she said she thinks like a 6-year-old, and I said, well,
Yeah.
so, and also, I know there was some conversation and some talk about how the money that the chamber receives from the city is spent. I kind of outlined, and it should be in your packets, some of the things that we do that the city funding helps us facilitate. Advertising is a big part of it, and I gave you the figures for the advertising based on April 1st to today. So there will be additional Christmas advertising that I haven't gotten a bill for yet. And so what I have up to this point, we received $6,000 from the city. What we spent on advertising was $15,598.75, which includes Anchor Fest, the barbecue contest, ads throughout the year, the Purchase with a Purpose expenses, radio advertising, the inserts that we do, and this is just part of what that money can be used for. I tried to itemize the rest of it so you could see what we did and what we do. And I wondered if anybody had any questions. And really, what these activities do is help to boost sales tax dollars. When you bring people into the community and when you promote the community, people buy, and the city benefits from those sales tax dollars. And if anybody has any questions. Okay, well, thank you for your time.
I'll put that down for you, if you would.
Jenny, you will be bringing sometime in January proposal for
Yeah.
contract renewal.
Yeah.
That's something I talked to that man today. If you have any information like that, if you'd email him, he'd get it in the lake book for Mark Twain.
Oh, okay, all right,
So,
thank you.
all right, thanks.
You all have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much, Jim. Okay, anything else on the economic development? No.
Well, with this, after that, have you heard anything about EEZ?
No.
Okay, all right.
I emailed on Friday, and the person who was supposed to be giving me periodic updates, so the office, I got a bounce back, but
Out of the office.
yeah, and they did not get in touch with me today either.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, time, presentations of GIS proposals. And,
Okay. Make sure this is working.
It is.
I'm Jared with Tri-State Engineering, and I met the mayor at a Missouri Municipal League conference this year, and then was approached a couple months later over the phone by Mr. Burns to come down here and speak to you today about GIS and what we can offer. Tri-State Engineering out of Joplin, Missouri, we're an employee-owned company of 5, and we've recently teamed up with Beehive Industries. This is Mike Schwab that's partnering with us today to offer the web portion of our GIS services that we offer to you. Before I start, I'm going to crash course through a quick presentation, the one that I presented, but much, much faster, the Cliff Notes version, just to cover the basics of what we have to offer. Also, just real quick, a familiarity with GIS. Is everybody pretty familiar with it, or are there some vague, don't know what the letters mean or what the capabilities are? I mean, I just don't know what I should skip through, so that's why I'm asking. Anybody really familiar?
I'm kind of familiar with it.
Okay, and you saw my presentation? Yeah. Okay. Well, moving on quick on the Cliff's Notes, I'm going to skip ahead. That's me, Jared Carey, housekeeping. This normally would be a 30 or 40 minute long presentation. Geographic Information Systems is the topic. You probably already know that. This goes on to say basically everything that you can map can go into a GIS. And it gives you the mechanics, et cetera, but I'm going to move on. Here's the reason why we say GIS is so important, because if you have old paper maps in your system that you rely on, well, first off, can it answer questions for you? Can it talk to you? Who lives in the red box on that map? Where are the water mains on that map? That is a water map, by the way. That's one of the maps in a water district local to us. Don't even know this is my water district. Where am I even at? Paper doesn't talk, but GIS can, and it answers questions such as, well, what's it look like? There's a photograph tied to a feature and a point somewhere on a map, and a whole bunch of attributes. Later, you get, much detail as you want to put into this thing. It's incredible. But how do you get that information? We can take your paper maps and scan them in, and you basically stretch them to the world, and now they have a position that you can Google if you want to, so to speak. Or you can trace them digitally, and now you've got vector lines that you can query, and you can ask, okay, how long is this line, and what's the diameter of that water main, etc. Not just looking at it on paper, but now seeing it, in digital question form. Or you go out in the field and you collect it from scratch. And this is the debate of, do you need survey grade GPS coordinates, or do you need mapping grade GPS coordinates? And we're going to get into that real quick. The idea of understanding GPS, that it's a sensitive subject, is that when you collect GPS, you've always got a wandering signal. The more sensitive the receiver, well, the better the accuracy. You really want a sensitive receiver, but that's going to cost some money. Most recreational grade GPS handhelds, they have between 3 to 5 meters of accuracy. So if I'm standing here and I'm capturing a point at this table, chances are it could indicate that flag over there, or it could be right over here where that little Panasonic Toughbook is, or, the point could be anywhere in this room at 3 to 5 meters of accuracy. And devices that do that are little cheap Garmin E-Trexes. We had a water district in Jasper County that used that to map their whole system of 3,500 meters. They would strongly advise not to ever do that. So, but anyway, it's one route. You can save money on the front end, but not on the back end. Or you could step it up, and you can carry the maps with you with full-blown color aerial photography, full queryability. You can have as many shape files in there, all the points you have in your entire district, every utility, all the parcels, etc., all in one little device. And that's the ballpark prices. Comes with a camera. Or you go for a rugged tablet, a little bit more expensive. And then you move on and say, okay, wait a second, if it's got 3 to 5 meters of accuracy, if I captured that point, again, it may be somewhere way off. So if it's 8 inches of snow outside and I'm looking for a water valve and I gotta shut it off, where is it? Let's get to it quick. I'm not gonna search with this entire room with my shovel digging for that water valve. I need something better. So let's discard the prosumer grade of GPS and move on to something more sensitive, something to a centimeter even, survey grade. Survey grade comes with a price. It's usually $20,000 to get a good survey grade GPS if you do it in-house. Or you outsource it, something we can provide as well. But then there's also a middle ground, sub-meter units. Sub-meter accuracy for a digital GPS system is pretty much a common thing. A lot of people adopt that because it gets you within about the radius of a hula hoop, basically. Under 3 feet, somewhere in that ballpark. And if you can't find it within 3 feet around you, well, you need to probably, surely you can find it. You'll kick it, you'll run into it, something. If you're digging, maybe you'll find it by just digging through it. A common GPS device that's an all-in-one solution, rugged, and it's up to mil spec. Throw it down a hole, put it in a puddle, it's not going to die on you. A Trimble GeoXT is popular. It's $5,700, $6,300. Those are ballpark prices with software. And it's got a camera. That's nice. You can put all kinds of stuff in it. Or you go to sub-foot. This is about 4 inches of accuracy for a little bit more price tag, $8,000 to $10,000 with software. It's got the camera. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. You have to have an internet connection in the field to get that accuracy real time. It'll act as a sub-meter device if you do not have an internet connection in the field. However, you can take the data and collect it and bring it back to the office and post-process the data to make it more accurate. Lots of options there, but it's not survey grade. It just gets you pretty close. Keep that in mind. Okay, moving on. There's some software to look at, and it's kind of small change compared to the actual hardware you're going to spend. There's a free option. Fulcrum on the right side is an app for an Android. And then we also have what Beehive offers. It's another Android solution that he'll probably go over here soon. There's your different programs, blah, blah, blah. We'll move on. Or you can be empowered with a cell phone or a tablet PC and collect a lot of this in the field with newer tablets and newer cell phones that have better GPS accuracy. Plus, they got the internet. So those are things to consider. Also, budget, productivity, multipathing. That buzzword means if you're standing underneath the tree, is it going to be accurate? Because the satellite signal is going to bounce through the tree and off the tree, and it's going to make your positioning worse. So things to think about. Moving on quick, always have a camera. If you don't take a picture of that water meter buried in the field and it grows over, good luck finding it with a poor accuracy device. I mean, you're going to spend a long time wondering that field, where is this thing? But there's a water meter there. At least you got a barn in the background or a tree or a fence line to take reference points with a photograph and know, okay, I was standing right about here and I was looking that way. That'll help you. Moving on quick, there's GPS cameras you can buy that take pictures with a compass bearing. There's cheaper ones. This is $300 on Amazon right now. And it also takes video if you want to take GPS video in the field. You can buy one of these. And this is stuff we don't sell. This is just recommendations for getting started on a budget. All kinds of ways to collect the data. What do you want to do with it? You need to interact with it. So that means you need desktop GIS. There's a debate going on. ArcGIS Desktop is the software most people use. We use it at the office every single day. But it costs $1,200, and then there's extensions on top of that. ArcGIS is a full-blown mapping system. A professional will use that to map most things. But there's also Quantum GIS that is an open source alternative that some people shy away from because it's so new, kind of taboo. But I can tell you, between those two programs, I can make them both do about everything I want. If I want to edit and move a parcel, if I want to edit and move a water line, if I want to add in a meter to my water district, for instance, I can do that in both programs. I can also crash both programs just as fast. I can make them rock solid and stable just to a task that you want it to do alone. I can generate contours from both programs. They're pretty versatile. One is going to be more robust than the other. That's ArcGIS. But if you're just getting started, Quantum's a good way to do it without any budget at all. Then you also need to distribute this information, which scrap what you're looking at on the screen, because our partner Beehive is probably going to offer you something much better. Normally I would have said you need a server in-house, and you can still do that if you'd like, but Beehive's going to rock your world here in a little bit. Training. Everybody needs training on it. Whatever the system is, you're going to need to spend some time with me learning how to use it, and it will only take a couple days. We'll get you going. My real issues are, what can I do for you, and how can you afford it? I will tell you that from the top end of things, if you think about the time you wasted wandering around a field, wondering where you are on a paper set of plans, because which way is north, and how many feet away am I from the road? Those are all questions that are taking too long in an emergency, especially if there's a disaster. You take the time that you wasted flipping page after page of an outdated map book, plus the time that you've lost making phone calls at the office saying, now wait a second, is this the revised copy? I have chicken scratches on here saying that it's been changed last year, and all this confusion. And then maybe you're digging up the wrong side of the road, busting utilities, etc. Take all those costs and subtract the cost of the software in my training, and that's the money you're going to save in the future for preventable issues down the line. That's what GIS is for. It's supposed to help you have a knowledge information system management tool that saves you all this down the line. You don't have to wait for anybody to update it. Most of the cost truly is your time, unless you want to get it done super fast. You can outsource the data collection. We can do the mapping for you. We have a lot of options there too, but the rest is free. We use a lot of kind of examples. On the high end, you could spend as much as $38,000 just for a server plus the full-blown ArcView license. There's a camera thrown in there, a desktop computer, all kinds of things. And I whittle it down to a budget and then a tight budget and then the free end GIS where you've already got the computers. You can download free Microsoft Office alternatives, download QGIS for free, use your smartphones if you don't care about the accuracy, all that, and that's all free. You can get started today. Again, it costs your time though. But there's also a lot of other open source things we use. We also use a lot of paid stuff by Microsoft and other vendors, Cisco as well. And then there's also the tools like the actual desktop client of QGIS. And just to show you real quick, I'll fire it open and show you a quick demo map of something we did for a FEMA presentation after the Joplin tornado trailers were implemented. This should only take a second. And I'm going to pass the torch on to Beehive to let him speak the other half of this. Now, realizing that this software is free and open source, it's been collaborated on by people around the world. People who have defected from Esri, people who come from academia around the world, multiple languages. In fact, it talks about its contributors here if you want to learn about the people that built it. A lot of foreign names in here. But it's pretty stable, has a lot of plugins that it offers. Let's do the Joplin Thin Housing Project. Here's just one way to use it. These are all the trailers that were dropped down at a site in Joplin just after the tornado within a few months. At this time, I can take any one of these trailers and I can click on it to identify who lives there. Here's trailer number 60. And off to the right, it shows me some information. Let's go to the editing feature form. And now I have this handy form that comes up. I can change its status from occupied to needs refurbished. UFAS, does it need a handicap ramp? No, let's change that to yes. And Steve Scott, this is all fictional data in here for sake of protection. Electric meters, electric use, water meter, water use, a call log with a calendar that I can punch in some dates, and notes. If I want to type in some notes, here's a bunch of notes. Scroll down, I can track all the assets in that trailer. I can track the cost of installing that trailer. I can say, oh, inside, there's a bad refrigerator, it needs repair, click OK. Now, number 60, when I clicked on it, it was green. Now it's yellow and it has this big red blip on it with a handicap symbol, all because I changed some boxes. It's that quick, and you can do it from your desktop. You'll do the same thing with the web end on Beehive's offering as well. It's pretty robust, pretty slick. I can move things if I want to. I can start stretching and editing tools, draw, etc., and then add something new if I want, etc. Okay, and I got a big block. So that's my part of it. We can also recommend that you go ArcView. You could pay for a seat of ArcView for every computer, for every user that's going to use it. It just gets costly quick. I have got a matrix that I'm going to pass around. This is the decision tree. You take one and pass it on. What it does is it explores your current assets in mapping, whether it's drawings, paper maps, and it's a yes-no chart. So it'll say, okay, do you want it to be collected? Yes, no, move on. Do you already have a system in place for collection mobily? Yes, no, move on. And that'll help you get some ballpark figures on what we would recommend for your assessment, your assessed needs. But that's just one way of looking at it. You would have to tell us what your true needs are for an official proposal to come up, and we'd like to do a needs assessment in-house of how much stuff you have on hand. There's that, and if you want to take over and show your end of the website, the web is going to grant you the ability for everybody in your offices to quickly manage the data, but also outside of the office, manage it too, from a phone or from a tablet or something like that. I will also pass around Beehive's information that he's given me.
2 seconds here, we're switching this around.
There's one tag for you, and the second as well. As a supplement for the cards.
All right. first off, thank you guys for having us down here. Really appreciate it. Just to give you a little bit of background about Beehive as a company. Probably haven't heard of us. We're actually a company. We're based in Lincoln, Nebraska. We're a wholly owned LLC. Beehive is its own separate company. We kind of live under a family of companies called Nebraska Global. Nebraska Global is mainly a high-tech venture capital firm in Nebraska whose main role is to create companies in Nebraska, stop kids from leaving the university and going off to other places, just kind of creating that, there's that brain drain that everybody talks about. Nebraska Global's whole intent is to stop that brain drain by starting up tech companies in Nebraska. So basically, we're a company in Nebraska under the Nebraska Global environment. We're a software company, that's really what we do. There's other software companies under the Nebraska Global environment. Beehive is one of those. So we're strictly software. All the founder and myself and a few of the other guys who work there, we come from the GIS world. I've been kind of involved in the GIS world for about 10 years. I used to work for a company that did county government software, and then I worked for an engineering firm for about 7 years after that. So, and I came over to Beehive here just recently to kind of get started. So we're a fairly new company. Excuse me. We've been around since officially a company since March of 2011. We're starting to kind of take over in Nebraska. We're kind of starting to expand out into Missouri, Iowa, Colorado, Kansas, the Dakotas, Minnesota, places like that. So we were actually at the Missouri Municipal League as well. So we were just kind of wandering around there checking things out. But yeah, we just, like I said, we do software and that's what we do. So it's actually a really good fit to partner with somebody like Jared at Tri-State. They're a great service-oriented company, engineering firm. They do data collection, things like that. Those are the kind of things that we don't really focus on. We mainly focus on the software that lets you use the data at the end when you have the data put together. So just a little bit of background. Our software really, we have kind of some key points about our software. Basically, our whole goal is to help communities operate well. To take the data that you guys currently have, that you're getting collected, that you're going to collect in the future, kind of aggregate all that together into tools that are easy for everybody to use, for the entire community to use, the public, every staff member, every staff level, every department, things like that, working for either in the office or in the field. So you can basically take this laptop, I'm not connected to the internet, and you can just take it and walk around, do whatever you want to. You can go on mobile devices, you can go on your phone, Android tablets, Windows devices, Windows tablets, things like that. You can run in a completely disconnected environment, so you don't need a cell card or a data connection when you're in the field, anything like that. And at a single, easy-to-use price, easy to budget for, easy to consume, everything else. So we are basically our licensing runs on a site license, so we don't have any per-seat licenses. So you don't have to worry about saying, okay, this guy over here needs it, this guy over here needs it, this guy over here needs it. You purchase one license, you have for the entire community. So if you put it in the police department, if you put it in the utilities department, if you put it in the city council, you could have it on your computers that are running here, pull up the council meetings, those kinds of things. So one of the things that we did when we got started, we actually conducted a very large market study. So we basically had kind of 5 things that came out of that market study. One of the things that we heard the most of was simplicity. People didn't want difficult to use software anymore. They wanted to be able to use a very technology-forward kind of model. So we are a cloud-hosted solution. We run on all new technologies, cutting-edge stuff. SQL Server is our database. We're a partner with Microsoft, so we do a lot of development on new Microsoft devices, new platforms, new things like that. An ROI approach as well was something that people were very concerned about. So a community that may take, they have to put together the monthly reports on the utility side of things. It takes them, a couple weeks to put all those reports together. With the data that you collect in Beehive, the information that you track, you can run those reports in a matter of minutes. So there's a huge time savings there. Site versus seat licensing, people were used to paying that kind of per seat license model from ESRI world and Office world and just the other Microsoft products. To basically get rid of that as a requirement and go to a whole site type license. And then again, procurement. So that kind of one easy to use budget, easy to budget for price. So when you look at software, there's generally kind of a couple ways to look at software. Kind of a completely custom, where somebody comes out, sits down with you and says, here's the things that we do, and you guys tell them, these are the things that we need it to do. They go back, build you something, come back with software. There's also a shrink-wrapped approach, where you basically pull a box off the shelf, you install it, you're done. We take kind of an in-between, because there's definitely some advantages and disadvantages to both of those ways. So we basically have our architecture, everything behind the scenes, is kind of a shrink-wrapped, out-of-the-box type of approach, but everything that stacks over the top of it, so like our web components, our different modules, our mobile devices, things like that, those can all be customized and set up exactly for what you guys need to track. take a look at some of the modules that we have available. This is just a short list of some of the modules that we currently have. So really all the wet utilities, so storm, water, wastewater, electric system, signs, cemeteries, parks, facilities, fleet, public access, code compliance, building permitting, planning, council agenda packets, things like that. So those are just some of the modules we have out there. We have a few others that aren't on this list yet, but they're not quite completely developed and deployed either, so try to keep them off the list. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual software. So when we first launched the app, this is all data that's hosted for you. This is an application that actually installs on your machine, but the data is actually hosted. So this is a kind of a hybrid web hosted solution, kind of desktop solution. So navigation is a very strong part of our system. So we can navigate around very quickly and very easily. So if I type in like 1432, I'm going to get everything back that starts with 1432. So addresses, building permits, water features, any, if I have some electrical features, some meters, anything like that that I have in the system that starts with that number, I'm going to get it back. I can also search for things like points of interest. So for example, like FON, Fawner Park, it's a park that's in this community that we use. So it's a we can navigate to that park. Here's some ownership parcels that have that name on it. We can navigate to those. Some building permits, subdivisions, any data that we have in the system, like I said, we navigate to it. If we hover over one of these results, we get a little overview map that pops up that shows us in town where that particular feature is. Just gives us a little bit more context before we navigate up to that point. So let's go to a specific address here. So we're going to navigate off that address, and we're going to see it appears running a little bit lower resolution here, so normally this is expand out a little bit farther. But basically what we can do is we can take a look, we can look at our full map again still, so we can see everything around that particular address. We can kind of layer things on here, so we have a legend over here, so we can turn different layers on and off, do whatever we want to. We can navigate around and see all the information that we have around in this area. The great thing about this though is when it comes to actually tracking work orders and work and things like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at a specific feature, an asset. So we'll take a look at a pipe. Again, everything's kind of scrunched together because my resolution is low here. But we get a map over here, shows us where that feature's at. We get an overview map again showing us in town. We have all those different properties that we were collecting. So we can have quick access to all those up here. We can modify these. If the user has permission to modify any of those properties, they can modify those. We can actually navigate directly off like a Google Street View. So if we wanted to see, if this was a street sign or a traffic signal or a house or something like that, we can go directly off to the Google Street View page. We can also hit this button right down here, and it's going to play us any media that we have attached to that. So here's like the inspection, the pipe inspection. We click that play video button, it's going to show us the inspection, the most recent inspection of that particular asset. Let me go to this other one here to show up a little bit. So what we're also showing here is the data imported directly from the TV system. So if you guys are TVing your pipes or TVing, wastewater, stormwater, any features like that, pulls that data up directly here and you get kind of a representation of how that looks. So in the abridged version of this, we're going to go over directly and kind of take a look at some of the analytics that we can do in the system. So one of the things that we can do is a full reporting. So we'll go over here and look at our reports. And we have a lot of kind of pre-canned type reports in the system. So we can just click on any one of these reports and run them. So for example, we'll do a wastewater activity. We can give it a date range here. So we'll say this is 2010. Oops. There we go. So we just basically queried out 2 years of data here, and now it's just telling us everything that we've done in that particular system over that particular date range. So all the different flushings, all the different inspections, all the different, really anything that we've done, shows us all those broken down, and then gives us kind of a little breakdown here of those different features. So now once you have that information collected, so for example, the pipes, the manholes, the valves, the electrical poles, everything like that, then you can start using this type of application to start creating those inspections, creating those work orders, and then being able to pull that information out at a moment's notice. So if you're at a council meeting and somebody says, I want to see all the work you guys have done in the last 3 years on this system, you can pull it up. Or if you need a report for a mayor or something like that, you can get that information in and out of the system very quickly and very easily. So this is kind of another little feature that we have in the system. It's kind of showing up weird on the screen, but basically what this is kind of a dashboard. So we have a kind of a map dashboard. So a user can go into the system and say, show me all the work that's assigned to me. So you can click on this, it's like my open request, and this is showing me all the different work the different requests that I have outstanding in the system that I need to take care of. So I can come here and I click on these and I can get some more information about them. So for example, this is, somebody plowed snow onto the sidewalk. This is appropriate for this time of year actually. It's supposed to snow like 6 inches in Lincoln on Wednesday, so hopefully I can make it home before it snows. But basically this is, somebody plowed snow onto the sidewalk. I got the assignment to go back out there and clean it up, so that shows up on my map. So now I can click on that, I can go back out to that location, I fix it, so I come in here and I say, okay, well, I did this. So I said, well, I finished it, so I'm going to complete it. I can take a picture, I can attach that picture in here that shows that I cleared that sidewalk. I can save it. As soon as I save it, solution's killing me. Yeah, screens like makes a difference. Get this out of the way. So then once I save it, then that comes off of that map. So if I come back to my open requests, now this has been completed, that point went away, so now I don't have that open request on my map anymore. So this is basically just a dashboard where I as a user can go in and say, depending on how you're logged in, I'm logged in as myself, of course, so it shows me everything that's open for me. So I have other things on here, so these are some more administrative things. So I can see any open stale requests. So this is showing me any requests that are out there that have been open for more than 30 days. And it gives me a date of how long they've been open. So, for example, somebody comes into a council meeting and says, you guys have not been out to clean up the front of this guy's property. You can go in and you can say, well, yes, we have. We cleaned up on this date. Here's the pictures that show that we cleaned it up. Here's how we did it, everything else. So that kind of goes back to more of a code compliance, code enforcement side of things that are cool too. This is just another thing that you can do within the software. And again, it all comes back to having that data put together. So the other side of this is our public portal. So it looks very similar. Again, this is a web-based application. This is very similar. You can navigate. The search works the same way. So we can go off to that same property. We can see all the same information. We can see, we can link off to any type of assessment records, any photos or anything, any other pictures or any other information tied to that property. We can turn on any layers that we want to. So we have the ability to turn layers on and off here. And this again, this can all be controlled as far as what information is shown out to the public, how it's displayed, everything else. But this again is all information that we can show. This is basically the same type of platform that we're looking at. We can measure, we can collect distances, we can do areas, things of that nature. And again, this is all kind of a public tool. So if you want the public to be able to have access to go on and look at this type of information, you can push this kind of stuff out there as well, and they can take a look at that information from there too. So they can see the kind of life of those requests and things like that. So we also have a mobile application that allows the public to actually report requests. So if there's a member of the public that's out there, they see a pothole or they see branches down in the street, they can either call you up and say, hey, see branches down in the street, and one of your guys can go in and record that, or there's actually a mobile application where they can actually record that and track that information there. So once they track that, then it shows up in your system. You have the ability to manage that request as it comes in. So this again is all, you have that data collected, then you can start using it with tools like this. The other thing I want to show you just really quick. This is just this is a very simple 7-inch Android tablet. This is just these are like $250. They're pretty cheap, pretty easy to grab. This is our mobile application. You do all the same type of management on here in the field that you can do on your laptop or on your tablet or anything else. So you can take pictures, you can track events. So if your utility crews are out there, they flush a line, they can track that line that was flushed. They can take pictures so that they can get that documentation of that information that happened where in the field. So and again, it works completely disconnected, so you don't need to have an internet connection or anything like that. So, and again, that's kind of like what we see as a good fit for us teaming with somebody like Tri-State on this is that they're experts at data collection. They know this area. They're a Missouri company. They do this type of work. That's kind of their bread and butter. Kind of layering the software on top of that just kind of gives you guys a little bit better experience with the data once you invest in the money, information, and everything else like that. So, do you have any questions for me? Yes, sir.
You were showing videos attached to sewer lines.
Correct.
That eats up data real fast. And you're doing all this on the cloud. What's your storage capacity if we had the whole system video?
Right. Currently, we have a community of about 55,000 that we're storing all of their videos on our cloud. and storage is cheap. Storage is the cheapest part of the cloud. So we have we have a almost unlimited amount of storage that we can take advantage of. So we actually, with us being a partner with Microsoft, we were actually one of the early adopters of their Azure cloud system. So they've actually given us almost free storage in their cloud system, just so that we would adopt it and start using their system. So we do all of our storage in the Azure cloud, but all of our other application hosting and things like that comes from the Amazon cloud. So we can, and we have kind of both running, so we fail over back and forth between the two. But yeah, the storage-wise, that's not an issue. So.
Well, what's the learning curve on how to, learn how to do all this
right,
stuff?
Right. If we had a little bit, I mean, if we did like a full presentation, if you see it and you kind of start to use it, you get to a sense that it's pretty intuitive software. It's fairly easy to run. The tools are kind of in the right spots. I mean, we built the tools to be very simple, and that was really kind of our sole focus when we built these tools, was to make them as powerful as they need to be, but as simple to use as possible. So if we had a little more time, I could show you a little bit more about the software, but it's fairly intuitive and pretty easy to use. So. Yes, sir.
Okay, you guys keep saying on the cloud. Could you put that in a layman's terms for a computer illiterate person
yes,
like myself?
So basically what happens is, instead of having a physical server sitting in the back of this building somewhere, there is basically virtualized servers that are off in all different parts of the country. So for example, Microsoft's cloud is hosted out of, one of their locations is in Cleveland. So there's actual physical servers in Cleveland that are basically creating this online environment where you can store data, run applications, things like that. So it's kind of like a web storage area for you.
So if we happen to put the police department's stuff on there, it would be in, everybody could access that information?
No, it's completely locked down. The only people that have access to it are you guys, of course, and us for the hosting, but that's, I mean, we don't really go through your data.
We can designate who has
Okay,
access
that's
to it.
Yeah,
I was making sure that
exactly.
that didn't
So,
go
yeah.
out to everybody.
And
Yeah.
then,
The cloud thing, Gary, that's
Okay.
new
Yeah.
business and
Right.
safe.
Yeah, so
Oh,
like if we look here on the system right now, our QA guys like to have fun with our names. So don't think my next name is actually Schwabi. It's take off the last two letters there. Our QA folks, I told them that it used to say whistles. I don't know why. It used to say something different. So I told them to take those out there and put real names in, and that was what I got. So but basically, when you log into the system, it knows who you are. So you only have access to the data that you have permission to see. And your system administrators can set up what you guys have permissions to view and modify and things like that as part of the system. So you have, you can limit your own staff rights as well too. So if you had police type of information in there, you could limit it so that only the police department had access to that information. Even though you guys are running the same application, only those guys would have access to the information.
Okay.
well, I'll say this, as an IT director and GIS analyst, specialist, ninja, whatever you want to call me, that internet thing in the cloud, people are worried about it getting hacked, getting corrupted or something. There is so much redundancy in the cloud. If it ever did go down, it'll be back up just like that. And as far as the hacking, as long as you don't put your name and password on a sticky note and sit it in front of your monitor, it's going to be a very, very, very hard time for anybody to get in and access that data. So security should be a lot stronger than even an internal network could be. Those are two concerns people often ask about and they're worried about. And, well, go ahead anyway. Any questions? There's one thing I've not addressed, and that's price ballparks. On that workflow decision tree chart that I've given you all, which is the first run batch, nobody else has that but you for now. It's a brand new tool I put together. The idea of data collection, some people have concerns about will it ever get done if we do it ourselves, because we are busy. We don't have time. If you don't have time and you don't feel that the manpower you have can handle this for the whole city, we charge around $3 to $4 a point to collect everything. So every water meter, that's a point. So every water meter point, so is a manhole, so is a power pole, $3 to $4, that's including meals, expenses, lodging, etc. As far as the data collection goes, I mean, if you only had a couple thousand points to collect, you're not looking at a whole lot of money for us to hit the ground and get it for you. On top of that, the data manipulation, whenever we go through and put this all together into a system that hands off to Beehive, you're only looking at a couple $1,000s more. If you have CAD drawings, they go in so easy. If they're already in state plane coordinates, it doesn't take very much money and time for me to convert that as well. I don't sell software, I don't sell hardware, I'm your process coach. I get you from A to B, you end up at C, and for him, you could ballpark $10,000 a year or so for this web utility that does a whole lot more than most. And that's not so bad, plus the modules for analytics and things. Now, as far as the exact numbers, we do need to do a needs assessment, but those are ballpark figures to get you an idea. If you do buy your own data collector, I would recommend spending between $5,000 and $10,000 on a good one. But that's if you do it yourself. If you want us to do it, well, we can do that too. So, things to consider.
But eventually, we're gonna have to have that, we're not gonna want you to come out all the time.
Absolutely. And my goal is to make you independent. I don't want you to call me. I want you in a snowstorm to go take that data collector and find what you need to find and get it shut off. We can't help you, you know, so yeah, I can't fly. I'm really all about the self-sufficiency thing, and I believe that's why you need a good data collector. If you buy a survey grade device, keep in mind in an 8-inch snowstorm or whatever, you're going to be setting up base point or getting internet connection to do an RTK session, and you're carrying a pole with you everywhere. It's going to take longer, but the precision, you almost don't need it because you need to get close enough, and that does the rest of the job as long as you've gotten close. Yes. Now, some meter within about, as sad as belly radius. The idea there too is if you've got two valves close to each other, 3, 4, a lot of features at one point, take one point and just write a note in there on the screen that there's 2 valves and a 4-inch main, there's one going northeast, etc. Because when you get to that cluster, you're going to see it.
And then you take the picture and put it in
Oh,
there,
yeah.
install it,
Yeah.
and take the picture and show it.
That helps tons. Absolutely. Things to think about.
Our current meter reading system does have a GIS mapping system on it. We take a laptop out and it has little points on the map. Is that information that could be just converted into a new system so we wouldn't have to relocate all of those?
Yep, you got it. You're already there. You just have to now bring it into a consolidated use that everybody can access if everybody needs it, or just a certain department, or maybe just you, maybe the mayor, whoever. But yeah, you're already there. As long as you've got that data, you've saved a lot of cost in getting more, as long as it's accurate. And you can always do edits and make that tighter, make that better. So that's what we have to offer. Okay. Any questions? Anything else? We really appreciate it, and thanks for having us out. And any other questions after this, we'd be glad to do another presentation or follow up any concerns in an email or whatever we need to do. Okay. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Yep.
If you don't mind sticking around for a
Yes.
few minutes, we'll have the other presentation. There may be things that come up
Sure.
from him that we may want to ask of you and vice versa.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kirk Larson. I'm with Midland GIS Solutions. Appreciate the time to come present on demonstration of our GIS capabilities as a company. Just really quickly, a little background on myself and the company. I'm Vice President of the company and one of the managing partners in the company. I've been in GIS myself about 17 years now, actually. Got my start actually out in the field as working as a licensed land surveyor doing data collection. Moved along into the county sector, been GIS director for a city also, now working on the private sector side. Midland GIS Solutions, we are located in Maryville, Missouri. It's the extreme northwest corner of Missouri. We are a full service GIS firm. That's one of the things that makes us unique is we can offer all facets of GIS, from data collection to consulting, to programming, to web hosting, to web development. You name it, we pretty much can do it as far as the company goes. We have 25 full-time office employees within the company. For a GIS firm, that's actually very large, actually. We are one of the largest full-service GIS firms within the Midwest region itself. We've grown over the years. We have at all times 4 dedicated GPS field crews working. Our field crews work 5 days a week all year long. They never see home. They're working all over Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, Illinois. That's one thing that's really nice and specialized. I'll touch on that a little bit more about the quality of our field crews that are out there. To date, we've done probably over 100 municipal utility GIS projects within that state region. About 85 of them have been full data collection projects themselves. Roughly over about 50 county GIS projects, mainly the ones in gray. In the state of Missouri, we've done more GIS projects on the county level than any other firm around. It's really how the company got its start a long time ago. Everybody was doing county mapping. Everybody's in the days in Missouri. Missouri was very unmapped actually about 10 years ago, and everybody was doing that, and that's where we got to start and really push forward the municipal side of things. Like I said, we have a full-time programming staff dedicated to WebGIS development and custom programming. We do web hosting for about 65 clients now currently, and I'll expound on that a little bit later in the presentations. Actually, we are a licensed land survey firm too. It's just something some of my partners, they are licensed land surveyors. It's kind of how we got things going, and it actually breeds well, especially in the data collection side of things. Being a licensed land survey firm, there's a kind of quality aspect of that too. Dedicated support and maintenance. We support a lot of people. That's one of the things that's kept us in business for a very long time. We've been around since about 1998, and for GIS, that's a very long time as far as being in the industry. We support, on average, I think a lot of people rely on us, let's just say that, especially at the county level. We actually do full maintenance for a lot of counties. I think there's about 8 counties now that actually have us do all their full maintenance for them. Warren County down the road, pretty good sized county, we do all their parcel mapping for them. They just didn't want to do it. They looked at the cost and said it's more efficient for us to do it. We do that with numerous cities also. A lot of them, though, are self-sufficient at the end of the day and work on it themselves. So we are an ESRI business partner, have been for a long time. I think back in 2008, we're a business partner of the year. Got to go out to Palm Springs to get that award. So that was actually pretty nice. I played a little golf while I was out there.
What is the ERSI?
ERSI.
What is that?
Esri, they make ArcView, ArcGIS software, kind of basically the Microsoft of GIS.
Right.
Being that we work with so many communities, we really understand the challenges that are facing each city. It's not just, here's some software, here's some tools, here you go. We understand what's driving these things out there right now. We work closely with communities and have, along with a lot of the industries, MPUA, KMEA in Kansas. We work closely with the Missouri DNR, a lot of things. So we really have a good grasp and understanding of what the challenges are out there. And obviously, utilities is a big one out there right now. We all know the American Public Works Association 2009 grades of infrastructure. We've seen all the TV shows on History Channel about how America's collapsing. Regretfully, 3 of the examples were out of the state of Missouri that they did show. So it's a big issue here in Missouri. Also, along with that is the average age of people in places of what do you call management or supervision in the utility industry. Is the baby boomer generation. We're seeing that's a big driver for us. We'll get phone calls sometimes and say, well, he announced he's retiring in 4 months. Can you get over here and collect all the data, because every bit of it up his head. Very common for us. It's becoming a more common theme as every day goes by. So those are some of really the big drivers out there. Honestly, one of the biggest drivers in the state of Missouri right now, the EPA and DNR. They're coming down very hard on people. The state of Missouri has more I&I than any state in the entire union, actually, as far as problems go. And we're seeing it because it's consent order after consent order after consent order in the state of Missouri right now. So that's probably one of the bigger drivers that we're seeing right now. And just getting that information into a digital system is what the EPA is pushing. And then also on the electric side, which we're proposing too, FEMA also is a big driver. They came out with their directive on the electric side a few years back, stating that there has to be an assessment in regards to the electric system prior to a disaster. And that's really a big driver we're seeing right now too. Obviously, some of the things, condition of maps. That's a map that I took a picture of very carefully, because I think if I touched it, it would literally crumble in my hands. And one of the things is, once those maps are gone, those are history. That information is gone permanently. And getting that information documented and collected is really critical. Outdated information. It is rare when we go into a city and say, let's see your existing mapping. What do you have out there? It's rarely up to date, very rarely. up to date. In fact, sometimes in some cases it's very old. Some cases we go to cities and say, okay, what kind of maps do you have to help our field guys navigate? We look square in the eye and say, we don't have any maps. We're like, somebody got something, you know, it has built somewhere, your engineer have it. No, our public works director got fired 5 years ago, got angry and took all the maps with him. And that's actually more common than you think that happens. So, a lot of things happen. The map is on the wall. It's right over there. I've seen this while I go in there and I'll say, where's your map? It's on the wall. Well, how do you get that map out in the field? Very common, actually, especially on the electric side. So getting that information out in the field is critical. This guy here, he's pretty much in every city I've been to. He has it all in his head. It's all right up there in his head. And, you know, as funny as that is, I think everybody sees this guy somewhere in the city. It is. It's scary that they have that all in their head. And, you know, we've had instances where people have passed away or become very ill, and the city is in a panic because this information, it's in his head, and getting that out of his head is really critical. So these are just some of the drivers. The big question is, how do we get there? What is our approach to this? In Inland Geos, we really focus on the quality of the data, which is really critical. I'll give you some examples of what can happen if you know, a different approach is taken, or I guess a less than accurate approach is taken. The big thing, obviously, is start out getting the data. Obviously, the aerial photography, getting that put into the GIS system. Obviously, at the county level, there's an outstanding GIS system here. Can acquire that. We help with that. We have great relationships with all the counties in the state of Missouri and all that, so we can help acquire that. Obviously, getting the base information, all the cadastral data that's out there, road center lines, you know, road rights of way, parcel information, lots, and along with that, setting that system up so that data is updated and current. A lot of times, what you see is a GIS system that you built. Okay, we went to the county, we got the data sits there. Well, what was the mechanism to keep that data up to date? We've worked with numerous counties, getting that, making sure that that data is constantly being current within the city. In a lot of cases with WebGIS, if the cities are okay with it, we just pull one of their services into the WebGIS, their web service into ours, and then that, as fast as they update it, it's posted right to ours, so it makes it very simplified for us. One of the first things that we'll do, this is probably the most commonly overlooked thing in any field collection project. A lot of people want to say, go buy a GPS unit, go out in the field. Very little thought goes into what do we do. We've seen it time and time again where people get halfway into it. They realize, gee, we should have been collecting this. What was it that we were supposed to be doing? What do we want out of it? What are we going to get out of it? What are our mandates? What do we have to do with it? It's not as easy as just purchasing something and running out in the field and doing it. The first thing we'll do is we'll sit down and basically do a geodatabase design workshop. We have a geodatabase model. Again, for geodatabase is the file format that ESRI uses, actually. It's the current format that they use. We sit down, we have a model we built for sewer, water, all the utilities and city features. It's been tried and tested and just kind of manipulated a little bit over the years. Over those 85 cities we've done collection projects from. But we sit down because we know every city's different. Everybody's got their own little intricacies and a little difference here and there. So what we'll do is we'll work with you and get that designed to exactly your specifications. Because there may be things you want to look at as far as, well, we want to collect this now. We want you to collect this now, but we also down the road want to do something in the future, so we want that set up for us. We have all these, also some of these mandates. We need to start tracking our assets this way. We need to know when we're flushing our lines. We need our valve exercise program, hydrant flushing program. Getting all that set up ahead of time is critical. We've seen it time and time again where you get halfway through it and it's like, oh geez, I wish we'd been collecting that. Also along with that, one of the things that we take a hard look at is your existing workflow. Where GIS has failed, and they do. I've been around a long time. I've seen GIS fail just like any program. They do fail. And the biggest reason why they fail is a lack of thought of maintenance. You know, a lot of people that get their GIS done, all of a sudden they're sitting in a room like this and they start staring at each other and wondering, who's going to maintain this thing for us? How are we going to do this? What was the process? Well, I thought you were going to do it. You know, I thought you were going to do it. And there was a lot of finger pointing. And what you don't want is that GIS sitting over in the corner and that little yellow GPS unit sitting over in the corner with dust on it and going, yeah, we got GIS that just sits over there and we don't know what to do with it. And, you know, it's basically a doorstop now, the GPS unit sitting over there. So these are things that you really want to take a hard look at. This is really the things that we stress up front in the process. Also model it so the city has a look at it, get it all put together for them, so that way you have eyes on it and you know exactly what it is that you're going to be getting from us and what it is that you want also. And then test the physical side of it too. We'll do some testing with it too. Because one of the things we do know is somebody that's been out in the field and spent quite a significant amount of time is fancy software doesn't always work the greatest in the field for the guy who can collect it, and that's very critical. Also, along with that, simplicity sometimes doesn't work in the office. It goes both ways, so you got to make sure it's going to be functional on both sides of the court, really. So, as far as going out and getting the field data collected, this is the approach that we're proposing to the city. Obviously, these are the things that we've learned over numerous projects. First thing we'll do is get out and collect all your existing data. All your map information will come and we'll get it scanned just as reference. We'll compile that information. A lot of people say, well, it is out of date, whatever the case may be, but our field guys, like I said, they do this over and over again. And it's really neat after projects, and I hear this time and time again. We'll see the utility guys at conferences, getting their CEUs, wherever, and they'll be like, God, those guys, they found more stuff in our city than we even knew was out there. This is what they do all day long. That's their job. They're real hard-working guys at it. Safety and procedures are paramount for us. We've worked in cities as small as 200 people, where you're lucky to see a car all day long, all the way up to towns of 100,000 people, where you have some very heavy traffic and big safety procedures along the way. So all of our guys wear, orange safety vests, lights on the truck. So all these things are all our guys are OSHA certified, confined space certified. This is what they do for a living. And safety for not only your citizens, but our crews is paramount to us. So we really stress that. Obviously, well, it's us. Establish project timelines and milestones for the city, so you're aware of where we're supposed to be and when we're supposed to be doing it. Delivery dates, QA, QC along the way. I'll kind of come back to work sector definition a little bit, talk a little bit later. Public notification, very critical actually. What we recommend is getting that information out to the general public that we would be out doing this project. It's amazing how jumpy people get when you're walking up to their house with a GPS unit. They kind of freak out a little bit, ask if you're going to shut their water off first. That's the first one we get. And then secondly, are you going to widen the road? I don't know why. We always get like this constant. But along with that, just so there's no issues, we do a lot of times, especially in getting back in back utility easements, we have to knock on the door, but we do have to get back in backyards a lot of times. We are entering private property sometimes to get to the easements in case. So it's just good that the city notify that along with the police department. Just to notify people that we are going to be in town doing these things. What we also do is we carry a laminated letter with city letterhead on it, explaining the project and who the contact persons, because we don't want to speak on behalf of the city. Let the citizens read it and say, you contact such and such in this case. And then the identification of key personnel, who's going to be working with us and on our end, who your contact is going to be not only on the ground, but also in the office as myself, and that's the project manager. As the other gentleman touched on, GPS accuracy, probably the most misunderstood thing out there. Recreational grade, like I said, it's not even for utility data collection, not even consideration, to be honest with you, in today's world. Mapping grade, most generally 2 foot. The only thing we use mapping grade, and it's actually the 4-inch decimeter grade that we use, is on the electric. Power pole's that wide, we're going to be there. That's actually fine. Elevation is not a consideration. One bad thing about the mapping grade is that you can't produce a true elevation off mapping grade. In the case of sanitary sewer or storm sewer, one of the critical components of that is a rim elevation. That is a very important part of that in the data collection process. With the mapping grade, you're just never going to get one that floats too much, just jumps up and down. It's not even kind of a throw it out the door kind of thing, unless you're, just a generalization of where it is. All the projects that we use when we do the collection is at survey grade level. Since we do this consistently, it's just something that people are demanding, even the small towns. We did a town in Iowa, 299 that required survey grade. They wanted it because they were like, we are sick of close enough, we are sick of schematics, we are sick of this. We want it done and done correctly for the final time. We just want it that way, and that's the way it's going to be. They want to approach it with that thought. They have a lot of studies coming up, a lot of sanitary sewer projects going up, and they wanted this information. And for us, with our process and procedures, we're actually faster with survey grade than we are with the other equipment when we can fly with the stuff, because it's what we do it constantly. Here's an example that's kind of hard to see here. This is Perry, Iowa. It's a suburb of Des Moines. And the city of Perry, Iowa, they went out and got a GIS firm, did some mapping grade stuff, a combination of as-built to get it in there. Let's do it, the way they wanted to do it. And the red lines represent where their GIS was. And the green lines is where the survey grade accurate locations were.
This is more common than you think, the way this turns out, especially with dated information, you know. Without those field verifications, I'll kind of get on a little bit why it's important. But at the end of the day, when the data was delivered to them, the field guys got it and they were like, this isn't even close. What are we going to do with this? We need to be able to use this effectively every day, and I need confidence to know that point is where that is so I can do my job. And the field guys threw their arms up and they just basically, like I said, kind of threw the GIS in the corner and they didn't want to use it. We run into this quite often. Here's an example of water. There's a valve cluster right there. The blue right there represents the true location of where things are going to be. That was all located survey grade. The red was put in schematically or close enough, I guess, if you would, to be able to find. In my opinion, if there's a big snowstorm, especially up around Des Moines, where the ELS migrate in the Iowa area, that's going to be hard to find in a snowstorm, even with a 1 or 2 meter GPS unit. At the end of the day, this project, what happened was, this was the original GIS versus the new GIS, the actual full, true field location GIS. The sanitary manholes, there was a significant amount missed, about 60 some odd manholes. Hydrants, they missed 20, which that still perplexes me because it's the actual only utility that sticks up out of the ground. And it's just, I'm baffled by that one. Water valves, as you can see, they missed a lot of water valves because they didn't really, they just walked along. It was what they saw, they shot it and moved on. No investigations, nothing. So storm intakes, they missed most of them. They did pretty good on storm manholes. They're pretty close on that. No, missed by 15. So at the end of the day, our approach, we want to be thorough. We want to get you all your information so you can make informed decisions. And I always tell people, I mean, I'll be very honest with you, we make a very good living as a company redoing GIS systems. We've redone about 4 this summer. That, existing ventures, hey, let's do it, let's get it done quick, whatever. Well, at the end of the day, when they try to start using it at a full functioning manner, they give us a call. So the first thing we'll do in the process is we'll establish GPS control. We'll use any existing NGS monuments. We'll work with local surveyors to determine what controls in the area. Some places we get to there just really isn't. We'll set usually about 4 to 5 control points on the footprint of the system itself. Do static observations on those, usually 2-hour observations rotating them through. So we want to make sure that that data is very accurate. In the case of Trenton, Missouri, Chad Davis, the utility director, who finished a project up for him this summer, he wanted permanent control actually because he said, well, hey, we're going to do this project. We want anybody doing work in my city from here on out, they're tying into my control, so it's going to fit into my GIS system. So he set the Corps of Engineers spec survey control monuments down 48 inches down in the ground. Their utility guys just got the auger out off their truck and drilled them out for us. Put brass caps on them, and from that down, they have control that's going to be permanent with good, solid vertical and horizontal location. So, but that's the first thing we do because we want to make sure, because GPS is valuable. It does mess up. It can mess up. So you have to be watching what you're doing with it. Sanitary sewer GPS mapping, some of the features that we will collect out in the field, obviously, are the manholes, the force main lines, if you guys do have a lot of force mains, the lamp holes where available, air release valves on the force main lines, lift stations, discharge points, flow metering stations, the piping leading up to the plant itself, any sampling stations or master meters that you may have in your system. People always ask us, well, how do you do something like this? How do you go out efficiently and do this? Well, when we collect the data out in the field, one of the things that we do, as you can see, first and foremost, we always shoot the north rim of the manhole. People always say, well, why don't you shoot the center of the manhole? Isn't that exactly the middle of the manhole? Well, when you measure down, you're measuring down from the rim. The rim is encased in concrete, essentially. That's the part that's not moving. We're a little anal retentive the way we do things, I guess, because not all the lids are exactly perfect on there, and they get bumped around and pull them off and put them back down. Things change. But where you're measuring down from is that actual rim, so that's what we use. We do splash a little paint on there just for 2 purposes. When we come back through quality control checks, but secondly, so we know we've been there. Pretty simple, pretty basic. What we do is, I talked about sector definition earlier. What we'll do is we'll grid the city out. People always say, well, how do you start following these lines? How do you do it effectively and efficiently? How do you make the best use of your time? What we do is we grid the city out, usually off of an existing map index, or we'll create one for the community. We'll work within that index itself, making sure everything is done within that index, then move on to the next one. The only times where we're going to trail a line is if you have a big interceptor line that runs down through a creek, and we want to stay on that line. Or a force main line in that case, we want to follow it, stay on top of that. So works very efficient manners that's been tried and tested time and time again. A lot of people say, well, geez, we have a lot of buried manholes, you know, things are, you know, we just got some asphalt overlays and whatnot. How do you guys find all these things? Well, we collect all the existing information that we do have. We do want to work with the community. We try to keep the impact as little as possible. In some cases, the community say, yep, we're sending our guys out with you because we've got the junior members of our utility team. We want to get them exposed and see the whole system. So it's completely up to you. But as our field crews go along, you know, shoot, we'll come to one that's buried. You know, you may see the depression in the asphalt. We know it's there on a map, or you know. So what we'll do, instead of, we have our probes and metal detectors, we'll look for it thoroughly. We're not going to waste a ton of time at that point. We'll circle it on the map, move on to the next one. What we do is, at the end of the day, get that information back to the city. Usually while we're still there working with them, and say, okay, we're going to go out in one chunk and try to locate all this with the field crews. Some things may need to be dug up. I'm sure you guys don't want us digging your streets up, you know, with pick hammers or whatever. We'll let the city folks do that. Especially on like a nice new paved over street. But what we'll do is we'll discover all this data and all this information. It's really important because a lot of people just do topside shots. Well, if it's there, I take a shot. It's there, I take a shot. And maybe it's, you know, there hasn't been one city in the 85 that they thought, how many manholes do you have? I've got 500 manholes exactly. Do you? Really? There hasn't been a city where they've been on the exact number. It's been sometimes where it's been pretty close, maybe 20 off or something like that. Some cases 300 or 400 they didn't even know about. In the case of Centralia, Missouri, we finished up a big sanitary and storm project down there this summer. They're one of the combination sewer systems in there under a consent order. So we had to locate all their sanitary and storm for them. They were off in their count on their sanitary system, what they thought might have by nearly 1,000 features. I mean, they just had no clue what was out there. So in those cases, we do discover a lot of things. And where it does say under the pool, that is true. Regretfully, that was in my hometown of Maryville. Somebody decided to build an above-ground pool over the top of a manhole. So but the city was nice enough; they didn't make them tear it down to get the shot on it. So they were pretty good. But all that information of the stuff that's logged is we log that as we go along. Work with the city to get that exposed. In some cases, out in the fields, you can see that gentleman up there in that big hole right there. The next, I have another picture. The next picture, all you can see is the top of his head and the top of the GPS receiver. I mean, that manhole was way down there. So, and as part of that, we do know how deep, deep they're buried. Where, so that way when you come back, a lot of communities, as we know the depth that they are buried, they'll come back through with a riser program, part of their CIP plan to say, boy, we've got 30% of our manholes are buried and we need to bring that up. That's going to be part of our capital improvement project to get that everything moved up. So just little bits of information. Part of the big thing is the manhole inspection. This is how we discover everything. Our field crews are very well versed. We pop all the lids. That's how you discover things. You get your head down there, you look and see, wow, there's a line running that way that nobody knew about. You start trailing it and find those manholes. That's where you discover the entire system. Some of these communities we go into, we pop the manhole lids, we've dug down, it looks like a cross-section of time. It's like asphalt overlay, gravel, dirt, and then the manhole. Some of these have never been opened ever in like 70, 50 years, depending how old the system is. We find that a lot. We also find a lot of interesting things in the manholes, but we'll go into that. So, very interesting thing. But this is where we really look, going back to that geodatabase design. What was the information that you wanted out of it? What did you want to use out of it? It can range, our typically speaking, about 25 features. Flow line depths, material of the manhole, pipe size, pipe material. It's amazing. We kind of look at this, the as-built, when we get in from the cities, how close the as-built are to the actual findings in the field, and it's not a good match, to be honest with you. It's usually pretty darn off. But one of the things that we do is we measure down, get all the information collected, and really discover that system. And it allows you to do the things you want to do, the proper asset management and the proper information. The reason we gather a lot of this stuff is so that information can be turned over to the engineers on studies instead of paying the engineers over and over and over and come back and back and back during studies. That's a big thing that's been a driver with us lately, is a lot of engineering firms have been partnering with us actually to go out and do this in a cost-effective, quick manner to get it done so they can do it for studies. We're from the city of St. Joe, had Black and Beach do their study on their combined system. Centralia is doing one based off the data that we collected. People are wanting that information collected and collected properly, and also a lot of times they don't want to be held hostage by their engineers anymore. It's you know, over the years, everybody was held hostage by them, and now it's something they just want, we want our data, because we want to make our decisions, so. Manhole inspection, we do a condition rating on some of the information we get out of there is actually signs of I&I in the manhole itself, any evidence of surcharge back up into the manhole. We do have a condition rating system that we developed in conjunction with the Missouri DNR, just a generalized system that is really effective for people. So that way at the end of the day, you can actually look at all the conditioning of your manholes and make informed decisions of where maybe you need to do some spray line manhole replacement or bring them up to grade, or where you've got problems along the line. Also along is, if you do have any sewer video information, integrating that in, get the PACP ratings, which is the condition rating on the pipes themselves, can obviously be integrated in, because we have numerous times on many projects. Along the way, actually this, in the Centralia project we did, they had $1.2 million worth of camera work done as part of their project that we integrated into it, so it's a pretty good project. But at the end of the day, you have the information, the true information that you can trust and rely upon to make information. Basic material, percent slope, line length, line size, rim elevations, upstream manhole, downstream filtration, and all of its information that you can be confident in at the end of the day and know that this is what's out there. On the waterline network mapping system, very similar in nature of how we approach it. Really the only difference is water is a little more subjective, I guess, if you will. There's nothing you can really pop and look your head down into. So we rely a little bit more on internal knowledge from the city. In cases where you got 90-degree bends and then, or 45s, and there's no valley or anything in that area, we will take a ground shot on that. We'll work to see and get that located so we know where to draw that in perfectly along the way to get it as accurate as we possibly can. In the cases with water, if there isn't good information or good trust on that water line, the size of it or the material of it, we're going to leave that as unknown. Too many times I see it where it's like, okay, we think this is what it is. We think it's a 4-inch line. Turns out it's not a 4-inch line. You guys go out with a 4-inch valve system. It's not. They went out, So doing that at 2 a.m. in the morning when there's 10 below zero is not too fun. So we want to make sure that the information is correct inside of it. On the hydrants, we get the hydrant manufacturer make. It's a 2-barrel with a steamer. If you guys paint your hydrants as per flow, integrate any flow information from the fire department if you do have that. Get that all placed into the system itself, or any valve exercising information that you may have along the way too. The electric network mapping, this is something that we specialize in. I think today we've done somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25 or 27 electric projects. This is something that is very specialized. You better know what you're looking at when you go out there to figure this out. And then also getting that mapped into a GIS system, it can be very difficult. And how you decipher all the phasing that goes on, all the switching, all the transformer sizes, everything that goes up on the pole, and having a data collector to be able to collect that information and get back in the field and put that in there is really critical. We've just finished up this summer 2 major projects, one down in Nixon, Missouri, one in Farmington, where we have big major electric projects going on down there. We were also selected by the Kansas Municipal Energy Agency to map all their mutual aid cities, because one thing they found was the mutual aid responders were coming to town actually, and there was no mapping, or every mapping was different. It became a big safety issue. So we were selected by that agency to go through and methodically map all of their cities in their agency to create a uniform system for the whole system thing. But it's a very thorough investigation. At the end of the day, the electric mapping, we take pictures of all the system, any gear that's up there actually, cataloged in there too. So it's a very thorough system when it's all done. Like I said, the electric is the only thing where we do use the 4-inch accuracy system, I guess, if you will, pretty much because the elevation is not required. Plus, like I said, the pole is that wide anyway, so it's really inconsequential. The next phase of the project is getting the data back into the office and getting it all mapped in. This is where we have some custom QA/QC tools that we've developed, especially on the sanitary sewer side and storm sewer side, to ensure that the data integrity is there. We want to make sure that any inconsistencies in GPS will show themselves. We do find them. I mean, it does happen. Elevations that get busted are bad. But this is where we draw everything in. On the sanitary sewer side, we get all the flow directions modeled in and everything. Our geodatabase design, the way we have everything, can be quickly and easily integrated right into any engineering modeling software, like Haystead Methods or anything like WaterCAD or anything like that for modeling purposes. And it's been done numerous times over and over again along that line. Quality control. One of the things, obviously, at the end every day, the guys do a visual check against aerial photography just to make sure that they're in the real world, nothing went wrong. You can see down there, it's kind of hard to see right there, but those are, you can see the power poles kind of leaning over those red dots are. You know, if the middle one was shot off up by that little gravel road up there, we know we've got a problem, so we need to go investigate why it is. Instead of just shooting it all the information, just put it in the GIS and say, here you go. You know, we want to know. We do, in some cases, check against the as-built, especially on force main lines, because a lot of those are buried. A lot of them don't have tracer wire on them, so we'll get the head-in manhole and then cover everything by burying distance into the last one if there's no way to locate it. One of the things that we do is we kind of go back to the old paper method for quality control. After we've gone through and done all of our quality control, got everything put in place, we will produce a set of big 36 by 36 maps because we want your guys' eyes on it too. So they go through, do quality control on it too, because like I said, it's up in that guy's head. He may know about that water line that went across that field that nobody knows about, you know, back in 1950, and we want to get that mapped in there. So any changes or modifications that need to be placed in, we're going to do that and come back and do that in a cleanup section of the project. Really on the deliverable side of things, there's really three deliverables. There's the hard copy maps, which is kind of funny. We use all this technology, all this cool stuff, you know, all these fancy terms. At the end of the day, the guys doing the jobs out in the field, they see these truck books and they love it, especially when they're accurate. They know they can look at those truck books, flip through them, and know I know exactly where that male or valve is, and they have confidence in it. You're never going to replace paper as far as in the field, especially with field utility guys. You know, I promote technology, that's what I do for a living, but those guys, they want to reach behind that seat and pull that truck book map out. They really do at the end of the day. So it's something that having that information there is really critical. So that's obviously a deliverable. Seems very rudimentary one, but a very critical one along the way too. Obviously the desktop GIS, RFP GIS, getting staff trained in the desktop GIS. For this solution, actually, proposal, we really didn't put any desktop GIS in there, obviously. ArcGIS is a great piece of software. I've been using it since it first came out back in 2000. This version of it, actually, for all some command line stuff I used to have to do. That was real fun. But it is a big piece of software. I mean, I've been using it for years and years and years. I learn stuff new all the time. And so does everybody else. And you learn how to break it and how to make it work and everything else. So unless you have a devoted staff member with some real good technical savvy says, I'm going to be very committed to this, this really isn't what's recommended. What we've deployed to most communities is the web-based GIS system. It is built off the SRI technology. We actually host the WebGIS data in Maryville, so you know where it is, where your data is located. It's very secure. It's a security certificate, SSL security certificate on the WebGIS. It has all the work order management system, the reporting system. The way we designed this was obviously ease of use along with that. But when we designed this, we actually sat down with our clients, and the people that we do on a daily basis. When you're doing reporting, what is it you really have to report upon? When the EPA or the DNR comes to town, you have to kick out really quick. What are the critical components? And that's what we built into this WebGIS system. It's being used by numerous municipalities, from little ones to 500, like I said, all the way up to towns of 100,000. So it's very versatile and easy use. Training for it, usually you come in within a half day, everybody's trained. Usually the training, if you're familiar with Google Maps, if you do any kind of web-based type stuff, training can be as little as an hour for you. It's really quick and easy to do. As far as within the WebGIS in the Maryville office, we obviously have offsite backup with the data. We have a gas generator backup system to make sure the servers are up and running all the time. We have our dedicated fiber optic line going in because we have to be up and running. We do. We host way too many sites not to be. And in this last calendar year, we were only down once, and that was for about 3 minutes. It wasn't our fault. It was Sunlink's fault, actually. So we've got to make that point. So, but this is the solution that we would recommend for the city as far as WebGIS. I can demonstrate that anytime if anybody really wants. So, but with that, closing, I'd just like to open the floor for any questions. This is a project we'd be very excited to work with you on, and we feel that this is something that, with our experience and know-how, we can deliver you an outstanding product.
Okay. What's the approximate time frame to get a GIS system set up and
To accomplish all this, what I would tell a community like yours, basically, of the size of it, we would say 4 months. That's, to be honest with you, on my end, that's covering me a little bit, especially a mysterious winter blizzard may come out of nowhere this year. I really doubt it, but it would be a 4-month project. We'd be in and out in 4 months. Our field crews would probably be here about a month and a half, 2 months, and the rest of it would be in the development of the data and then the WebGIS product and training complete. Our people are really amazed at actually how fast our field guys are. They say, we'll tell them, oh, we'll be there 2 weeks. Like, no, you're not. You're not going to get it all done in 2 weeks. And sure as heck, those guys go through that pretty darn quick. So,
Does Columbia, Missouri have this, any type of this GIS system?
our GIS system?
No,
or
just a.
Columbia does have a GIS system. I don't believe, I don't know, theirs was developed a long time ago. I want to say the city of Columbia, they've been working quite a long time on their system. Like a lot of the bigger cities, they would have once we got into it a long time ago, older technology. We're actually seeing kind of a trend of, we're working with, we just got a project, the Kansas City, Kansas water division. It's basically all of Wyandotte County in Kansas. They got into CAD and GIS a long time ago, but they've realized it's archaic and old. Now everybody's gravitating towards getting this done because the technology's here, the costs have come down, and it's affordable for them to do it. So, but as far as Columbia goes, they do have a GIS system. So, long story.
You think you've redone some systems where they did not quite as accurate?
Yes.
How long did it take them to decide it wasn't accurate enough before they upgraded?
Well, just like anything, the field guys, they decided really quick. They kind of chucked it in the corner. They didn't want to work with it. In a lot of cases, it takes a while for it to trickle up to administration before they were aware of it. In the case of Perry, Iowa, they knew pretty quick, really quick. It was a pretty bad deal. And the funny thing is they paid more for their junk GIS than they paid us to do it survey grade accurate with full inspections. They were kind of had some egg on their face on that one, but yeah, we've redone small and large systems across the board. That's becoming more and more common.
The other thing about GPS is, and it's been alluded to a little bit about not always having good signals, and not. How do you make yourselves aware of that? How would, if our guys were to go out and do that, would they be aware of some of these same things? Yeah,
what we do, and actually a really good example is Eldridge, Iowa, a project we did there as part of the Quad Cities. They got a GPS unit and relied on Trimble to come in and train them. Trimble does their 1.5 hour quick training session that they do, the free one, and they didn't tell them to set their tolerances inside the GPS unit to say, basically it has to be so accurate for it to accept the point. And that's what we do. We set our controllers, our survey grade actually, that if it doesn't achieve a certain accuracy level, it's not going to accept the point. We can't do it. And they were struggling and struggling and struggling. Finally, we got into their controller and looked at it, and those tolerances weren't set in there. So you can set the tolerances on it and say, if you're not getting good signal right now, it's not going to accept this point. So that way you ensure the data integrity along the way. So, and I did forget to mention along with that, because there are instances where we do projects where you just get into areas where you just cannot get signal. I mean, period. In those cases, we actually come through. We'll use traditional surveying methods, either use a total station or run a level loop through it. We can't get vertical on it. That's pretty common actually on those interceptor lines down the creek lines. So, giving information. So, but we're quick with that too. So, yes, sir.
B5 indicated that they have pretty well unlimited storage capacity for things like tying in sort of videos. What's your capacity?
Same as unlimited also. Like I said, we're right now currently we're storing all of the city of St. Joe's, Sedalia, that I said at 1.5 million terabytes of information we have. I mean, just terabytes that we're hosting. We just can keep building and building off of it. So we do everything local. We want to have it. A lot of our customers, they want to know where their data is. Some people don't care. The cloud. Some of the stuff I do, you know, it's cloud-based. That doesn't bother me. But a lot of communities, especially the big one, we do so much electric work with the NERC and FERC regulations out there. It's a little dicey as far as security, and they need to know where their information is, and they need to know that it's in a specific spot. So,
Boone County has gone through FEMA and had all the floodplain mapping digitized and reconfigured and brought up to date, how difficult would it be to import that data into your system and into your system?
It's not an issue at all because it's going to be delivered, when they redo that, they do it as D-firm or digital firm maps, and it's all in GIS shapefile format, and they'll just overlay right into it. The spatial accuracy of them is pretty close, but it just overlay right into the existing GIS system. And that's the thing with the web GIS, any GIS ready information that you may have, be it even XYZ coordinate points, whatever the case may be, that's part of it. You just pass that along to us and we'll get that loaded in your GIS, be it flood information or any engineering information or whatever the case may be.
Just in water meters.
Yeah,
If
it's
you're
just
nodding,
you just plug right into it.
Say,
You may not show up on the camera, so.
Sure.
no, it's the exact same answer.
Sure.
With all of the new mapping requirements from FEMA, again, like Kirk said, that all the data is collected. They create those digital firm maps now, so the D firms. So that's all created in GIS. They already have basically pre-built geodatabase templates that are out there that FEMA has developed to put those floodplain maps into. Those can be brought into to our GIS systems, any GIS system, CAD systems. They're freely available data sets that you guys can take advantage of.
So the same would also apply to our existing cemetery GIS and database that's on our GIS, I think.
And electrical, right? Our electrical, like she was talking about.
The water meters.
Just the water meters.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Water.
Do you have an AMR
Electric
system?
meters.
Okay. Yeah, with the AMR, they get the lat long point on those, so yeah, we just integrate that in there and then we'll tie the lat a lot.
But how accurate is that information?
The GPS for that?
Right.
Not
Well,
very.
I mean, you have to drive beside it, so your water meter is obviously over in the yard, you're not gonna drive into the yard to
Yes,
say
and
it's
how
that
accurate
long.
would you want your water meters?
It would be nice to have, I'm looking for it in snow
Right.
or with leaves. I mean, that's basically
Well,
what we run into.
actually, as
and
part of
stuff.
our proposal, we were gonna shoot the meter points in that, so we'd have a general location based off the AMR readings, which they're supposed to be within about 1 meter to 2 meters on the spec for most AMR systems, but sometimes they're not.
We've been in the situation you were describing too with the water valve, the 18 inches of snow, looking for it. And those are really not good enough. You're trying to find, we found out after the snow melted, you can see where we scraped, we were about this far from it and just couldn't find anything with all the ice and everything.
Can I ask you a question about that, Ensign?
What?
Would you care to really ballpark guess how much water you lost, or the city lost, when you got to do the play where the meter was with the ice?
The water leak down here.
I'm thinking of
the
A few years ago.
yeah.
If you could have found the valve and shut it down,
Oh,
what would that save water-wise?
about 100,000 gallons at least.
And that's a really good point right there. It's really tough. I mean, you read a lot of return on investment case studies in GIS, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I love to hear about that stuff because what I do for a living. A lot of those come from giant cities where they were so massively ineffective that one little tweak here made a world of difference, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Real world return on investment for a town of this size, for Centralia, it is things like that. A colleague, or I guess a friend or whatever, and works for MPUA, it's Phil Walsack, I don't know if you know Phil, he used to be in Web City, and Phil, he has a really good presentation that he shows about, because he's a big proponent of GIS too, and I love his presentation. He goes through and says, okay, we went out, Web City, actually we just did Web City, actually I've upgraded it, just finishing up right now. They used to go out because they had no idea where anything was. And he calculated it up. He said, okay, there was an instance where they went out looking for a water valve. They couldn't find it. They, we can start getting into overtime. They had to bring the backhoe in and all the guys, and they totaled up the amount that they just spent just looking for one water valve. And there's the return on investment and the efficiencies of things. So it does add up. It really does. We lost water and whatnot. So.
And of course, all this data would then be available for any engineers who are doing work, either for the city or for private developers.
Did you ever find that water valve, by the way, or did you just kept that operating?
We just kept that one off.
Because you never found the water valve?
We can't find where the water valve goes. It's no.
So how did you find the water valve if you can't find the water valve?
Well, in a lot of cases, what we do as we go mapping things out, GIS is kind of investigative. We work with the public works utility staff, and it's the very first time they start seeing things being pieced together. And based off of that, bringing that together, existing records, we'll start working with you guys in that cleanup phase, and that's where you guys can go out and start examining. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't know this was how this all kind of came together and how the valving was, and then they can investigate a little bit further, a little bit further. In some cases, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to find everything, especially on a water system. But it's about as darn close, and it is. It's a work in progress. As you may dig things up and move along, find those things. So.
And you said work in progress. That means eventually we're going to have to buy the professional grade or the engineer grade system to buy for our new neighborhood that's coming in. And our guys are eventually going to have to learn how to use this equipment.
Well, that's actually a really good question. A lot of people say, okay, you developed everything in survey grade. How is it that you're going to get it into the GIS system itself? There's really a few ways to approach that, really. One, well, first and foremost, which is really not the one, I'll be honest, it's not cost effective, and I don't like doing it because it pulls my crews away. Some cities just say, once or twice a year, zip by town, spend about 2 hours and shoot what we've redone, usually not much at all. Costs about $1,000, whatever, not a big deal. A lot of people rely on their local surveying engineering firms. They're close and local, they can say, hey, shoot these things in. One of the easiest ways to do it, especially since everything is being brought in with GPS technology and designed, you know, or high accurate survey information, is just pass an ordinance to say that when you do a new subdivision in our town, it's going to be delivered in a GIS state plane coordinate format, and all that stuff's going to be located. So that way you can take that information and just put it right into the GIS system easily. It'll fit right in. So there's really many options as far as keeping that accurate, I guess, information up to date along the way. So it's not as difficult. It just takes a little ordinance work. A lot of cities just do it anyway. It's good kind of practice to make sure that that information is being delivered in a specific format. So,
which if you're tying in local survey control, section corners and stuff like that, anyway, you would have coordinates on those points for people to work from regardless.
Exactly.
So how would your guys find, or our guys find it on your system? Like if they wanted to find that valve and mark that valve, would it be about basically the same, or would it be harder for them to find it than it would be for him?
Well, if your guys know your system better than we do, obviously, and we empower them with a data collector that's sub-foot range, somewhere in the $8,000 to $10,000 data collector. It's going to get down to 4 inches of accuracy in the field, as long as you have an internet connection in the field. If you don't, then back at the office, it gets you 4 inches, but that's another story. You'll at least have sub-meter accuracy. So you're going to get within that hula hoop of wherever the point's at. If you have it mapped to that degree of precision, to that much accuracy, you'll find it again within that much accuracy. If it's survey grade accuracy, and we could survey it, you could survey it, you could buy the gear for that, there's a lot of ways to do that. But you have to be able to return to it with some sort of good accuracy, or else that survey grade is almost worthless. What are you going to do with it after the fact? So, can you find it again? Sure, if you've done it before. Are you going to find it for the first time and it was on a paper map buried, you know, maybe it's gone? Well, that could be another issue if you've never done it before. So it's kind of garbage in, garbage out philosophy. You're working with known knowledge, some assumptions, and visibility. That's the main thing to start.
Biggest problem is on visibility. I've got a valve here and somebody pays over a street.
Yes.
I have nothing to go on, but that street's all black.
Right.
And I'm trying to keep from tearing up a brand new street even more than I have to, and I'm just.
We don't have any brand new streets.
What do we do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you do. Yeah.
Is there any further questions?
I've got one. You got a proprietary system?
No, it's not proprietary.
Okay.
It is built on top of ESRI technology. It's ESRI ARC server platform.
Okay.
It's the file format that it's kept in is a geodatabase, which is ESRI. ESRI is essentially the Microsoft of GIS. They own 95% of the market share, roughly. It'd be like buying a computer, and it's all Microsoft essentially. They're the biggest GIS provider out there as far as software goes. So all the technology that we do and all the systems that we build are built on top of ESRI's technology. so it's non-proprietary whatsoever. That data, if you guys don't want to do the WebGIS hosting anymore, you call us up and say, we're done with you, all right, we'll give it back to you in ESRI format, it can go anywhere and do anything. So it is not, definitely non-proprietary.
So we aren't hitched to you
No.
forever.
In fact, in our contracts, we've just done this so much and so many people, one of the things we are very specific about in our contracts is that we don't own the data, we have no rights to the data, we have no copyrights, we're not gonna sell it, we're not gonna release it, we're not gonna do anything with your data, period. It's your data. Our customer for WebGIS, we have 65 WebGIS clients, we have not had one canceled ever, not renew their subscription.
Does the same apply to yours, or
Uh,
are they different?
Yes, we are not built on the ESRI stack of technologies, but we are not a proprietary system either. We use technology that's called map.net. It's basically Microsoft's kind of side partner in their business on creating a map server platform. It's built on OGC data standards, which is the Open Geospatial Consortium of data sets. It's basically just a kind of a open source isn't really the right term, but it's basically just open standards that a platform can be built on. They have sites up for like King County, Washington. There's the city of Miami uses map.net as their platform as well. The thing that we like the best about it is that it's built on SQL Server as the backend, so it runs on a SQL Server database, which is the ESRI formats within their geodatabase format. That's a very proprietary format. So being able to integrate other data platforms into it is at times difficult. So with it being built on a SQL Server platform, we take the approach is that it's just data. We look at it more as like a finance package or something like that, where you want to integrate with, multiple platforms around in the city. You mentioned something about a cemetery platform. It's very easy to integrate with those types of platforms because it's built on those SQL Server backends. So yes, we are not a proprietary system either. We use but we do not run in the ESRI environment. We integrate very easily with the ESRI platforms as well. We consume SQL Server through ESRI. We can consume shapefiles and geodatabases and everything else. But we use a SQL Server database as our backend. Same holds true for us as well. So if we have a client that cancels on us through our subscription, we basically just take a backup of that SQL Server database and they get a full backup of that database. So if you need the data out, you got it.
All right.
Yes.
So on your system, you just have a site license, basically the city and as many employees as needed can access it?
Correct.
Is that the same on yours?
Exactly the same.
Since it's hosted on the web?
Yes. It's unlimited licensing.
Okay.
It's password protected. It's got a very robust security level. So if you want a forward-facing portion of it, and then the back end to the city, but based off login, which whatever.
Right, so there's obviously a public login that you get access to certain things, and
Yep.
these guys get access to what they need.
Yes.
Police department gets access to what they need.
And we also have I didn't put in the proposal at the time, but we do have a mobile iOS or iPad version of our WebGIS platform that you can go out and actually do field edits, attribute updates on your iPad actually on field also as well.
So, I asked him earlier about the police department, it would be kind of easy for them to add to their system. Is it the same with your system that he can just pretty much go out and add to anything he wants
Yeah,
to?
the WebGIS system we have, you can actually go through, do editing that whole attribute that features vector data. We actually have the ability to upload XYZ coordinates straight into the WebGIS system. We have some snapping built into WebGIS, which is something that we actually, we didn't like ESRI's and built a more robust snapping system, kind of like an AutoCAD environment inside. So yeah, you can add as much information that they have within inside of it. I think the city of St. Joseph alone, they have different services set up, but as far as all the layers that they maintain within the city itself, I think there's somewhere up in the neighborhood of 150 different layers that they maintain within their system, so it's very robust and expandable.
So basically what I'm getting here is that your system and your system is exactly the same, except that you come out and start us out. That's basically the only difference is.
But we can do the same.
You can do the same.
It's either a survey crew from Tri-State Engineering, or we've integrated with Lee Inspection out of Joplin, who does utility pole inspections, and they are the $3 to $4 a point for all points in your whole city.
But once that's done, or we empower you to do it, once that's done, then we go on to the next part, and then finally WebGIS, so yes.
Yeah, and our, excuse me, the Beehive platform, you can do all the vector editing and everything on there as well too. The platforms are very similar, it's just we run in a different environment than a web environment. We have the web environment for like the public portal and the public facing things, but the Beehive platform also runs kind of that hybrid cloud desktop app. The great benefit that you get to that is you can run in a disconnected mode, so you don't need to have an internet connection or anything to run the application. Take it offline.
I guess at the end of the day too, I mean, one of the things that we really pride ourselves upon as far as like I said early on, as we were a full service firm, is that your WebGIS platform comes from us. We answer our data collection services comes from us. You know, our field inspection services is us. We do it all, and at the end of the day, we're going to answer to our clients for that in one spot of who did it all. So
yours is what a point? You said it was
$3 to $4.
$4 points.
In that ballpark.
And yours is how much?
I don't go by.
It's an overall.
It's not we do full field inspections, and as far as this 8 point, I've never priced it as 8 point, I guess if you will.
Okay.
That's one question I would have for Tri-State is the $3 to $4 a point. I mean, that's just going to get you a point, right?
Yeah.
Well, typically what the inspection does, I empower them to be able to shoot 100 attributes at one pole, everything about the transformer, phasing, etc. But that's just utility poles. And they are charging in that ballpark of $3 to $4 per point for everything about that pole inspection, the quality of the wood, etc. As far as manholes go, as far as the water goes, we're going to have to average some things, but it does average about that much with them. You're going to get sub-foot accuracy. But if you wanted it survey grade will be a little bit different story. We'll take a little bit, probably more manpower and resources to get that done. But you know, in the end of the day, it could be between $20,000 and $30,000 for the whole system to be surveyed. But we do inspection along the way, to whatever degree you need it. Let me put it that way. We'll have to sit down and talk about that.
Whichever degree we would like.
Right.
A manhole is this big around, right? So around,
Give or take, yeah.
your accuracy is this big around, so you're not too far off as far as that goes.
Right. Well, and I was talking about some of the other things, you know, the condition of the manhole when they pop the lid and the flow line and things like that.
But we have a camera system for that.
Well,
But you're not going to get any GPS.
camera system does.
No. Well,
That's not,
And without
that's not
survey
getting
grade.
its elevation and all that either. I mean,
See, this is a one shot, you know, in a 2 to 3 month period, you're going to know the condition of every manhole you have. You know, you'd probably never get that with just using our crews.
And certainly not for 4 months.
No.
well, no.
Yeah.
How old's our tank?
The point is that this thing actually saves you money.
Okay.
The sooner you get it, it starts saving you money. That's why people are going to it. It saves money.
I've got kind of a question, and I'm sorry that I'm not up on the technical. The platform that you're all, the differentiation between the two, did I understand that you've got a standard where there'll be people working on the standard that other applications or whatnot would be coming down the pipe? Because like, let's use Apple for instance, did they have a basic code writing where all kinds of apps came to their phones, where early on some of the others didn't have as many people writing code for them?
You know, the operating system?
The operating systems, to where there's all kinds of different applications, because there was a standard and a lot of collaboration to get to where they were going.
Right. So I think if I take a stab at this, but I think
Go ahead.
what you're asking is so basically our application and Midlands, I believe, is the same way. We're both custom built in-house by developers that are employed by Beehive, but our applications were written in basically C#.net is the language that we use, which is a standard Microsoft development language. So if there are any folks out there that say if for some reason Beehive would, somebody else would buy Beehive software, they can use C# development to build, enhance the application down the road, things like that. And I think, Kirk, I don't know if I think you guys are the same way, right?
Yeah.
Custom built stuff, but it's built in. We didn't like develop our own programming language to write the application. We use standard, Microsoft built.
So there's not really much of a point of
languages.
differentiation in that part.
The difference is that ours is kind of a hybrid, desktop / hosted environment with a web portal for access, and versus a purely web-based system. Those are really kind of the two big differentiators between the two systems, I think.
So
personally.
in the nutshell, in my summary, all operating systems, all web browsers, all devices, basically, that's what they're trying to aim for. So whether it's an iPhone or an Android tablet or a desktop PC or a laptop, or it's a web browser on a Mac, it should work on all those platforms.
Okay.
One's just open source and one's proprietary, built on a proprietary system, right?
Theirs is open source. Mine's not proprietary by any means.
Well, but I mean,
It's industry standard, basically. Industry standard. Like Microsoft and Linux.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Did that answer your question? I hope.
Kind of.
Or just clear as mud now.
Yeah.
I think that you could be comfortable with either system for the long run on the way it was written and the back ends or the support of the infrastructure. Would that be fair?
Yeah.
I don't know many people that have a Commodore computer anymore. You see what I'm getting at there?
Yes. Yep. I understand 100%. Yep. We built all of our applications based on Microsoft development standards. So as long as Microsoft doesn't go away tomorrow, the languages that we use to develop our application, the platforms that we built our applications for, those are going to keep going. And we've built basically agnostic type platforms so that you can run on like a Mac or a iPad or an Android tablet or a PC, and we're constantly developing. So like all of our developers now run Windows 8 on their machines, so they're developing all of our apps for Windows 8 and then backwards compatible from there. So I mean, we're constantly evolving. We have releases that come out generally once a week. And then we have kind of like support releases that go out once a week, and then we have a major release of our software that usually comes out about once a month. So we're constantly developing the application. So we're not going to go the route of Commodore. So that's
automatically download. Or?
Correct. Yeah. We run we're built on a framework called Click Once. Basically, it's kind of a Click Once hybrid platform. It's a Microsoft development platform. Basically, what it does is every time you launch the application, it checks the server for updates, and then it pulls back any updates.
And in your case, it's all behind the scenes, and we'll never know whether it's updated or not.
You'll never know. We put the bill for since we're hosting it. ESRI does an update. They come out with their new release of software. We take care of that all behind the scenes. After we wait a while, just like in software. The day you get it, you don't want to deploy it. Trust me on that. That's new software. But we'll do our own internal testing stuff, and we'll upgrade it behind the scenes and keep on moving through.
We'll wait around long enough, and the iPhone will have Google Maps back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you both coming before the council tonight and giving us your presentations. You have another question?
Yes, I suppose my final question would be, I understand that you guys are anxious to get this thing going in water and electric department. You guys are anxious. I do understand that. And sure, I understand where you're coming from, that it could save us some money if they did have another incident within, this winter. But in the end, my point is that we have to have you guys know how to run it eventually anyway. You have to know how to run this equipment anyway, eventually. Whether we buy the cheapest equipment or whether we buy the best equipment, eventually you guys, our guy, every one of you, not just you two, but every one of our guys are going to have to learn how to run this eventually anyway. So that's where my point is that there's no difference which way we go. It's just basically the cheapest way, the cheapest version of which way we go. So if you guys buy the system now, he shows you how to run it. You guys got to have to know how to run it eventually anyway.
except for it'll take them years to map what these guys would map in 3 months. Or 2 months, whatever they do. Because they don't have time to go out there and do this on a consistent basis. And if you get different people doing it, you're gonna get different results because they're not used to the equipment or everything else.
Right.
They're not going to understand multipassing and other
We
things.
run into that quite a bit where communities, I mean, sometimes it takes them a year, 2 years, 3 years. And what they do is they go out and do it a little bit by a little bit. And they'll say they start moving through the community, 2 years down the road, a lot can change behind them in 2 years.
But a lot can change behind you in 2 years.
Well, once that's when you're done in 2 months, once we're done, it's easier to maintain something than it is to collect it.
Right.
So once we're done, they can begin that instantaneous maintenance on it. Whereas if they're going through and trying to collect it, well, they got maintenance behind them at the same time. And sometimes we've seen it where communities, they took 3 years, they went all the way through, or they weren't tracking a thing behind them after that happened. And they realized, it's like they almost have to start over again to go through and do it again because it's fallen so far behind. Whereas that's why people look to us is get it done, teach us how to maintain it. We stand behind them, get them fully trained, full tech support, moving forward, because it is way easier to maintain than it is to collect.
But you guys do the same thing though.
Sure. And I'll say from personal experience, my poster child is Jasper County Rural Water #1. They got over 3,000 clients. At this time, their mapping is done. We're doing water modeling for them. They collected the whole thing on a Garmin E-Trex for $250. They had a point limit of 999 points. So every 999th point, you dump it and get a brand new flush set. It took them a year and a half to finish because they were delayed with issues of, bust pipes, putting in water meters. They had a lot of maintenance. But they also drove their own route, and along the water meter reading route, they popped out of the truck, got the point real quick, got back in the truck, and was done. Then write it down on a clipboard. By the time that was all done, they spent $6,000 with us to map that out for them as far as connecting the dots for all the water mains. And their system is pretty thorough, but it was the guy that had it all up in here that is the one that helped us with that, and he's the one that did it.
So these guys are gonna help both of you the most on finding your, so we're gonna have these guys.
We're not going to rely, actually, honestly, we don't rely a whole heck of a lot on them except in the very end of cleanup phase. We try to minimize their impact because they are busy every day. We don't want to be calling them all the time. Pretty much our field crews, just because this is what they do all the time, they're pretty self-sufficient. Maybe examples, like I said, where things are covered over, but we save that for the very end during cleanup phase to minimize their involvement in it so they can do what they need to do. Yeah.
So as you understand what a day is for us, and I'm just trying to not be smart out here. We had the sewer camera for 3 years. We did the west side of town, everything on that side of the tracks, and we're to Jefferson Street right now. I still have to do everything east of there and the whole north side of town. We're Department of 4. So we can only be so many places so many times. We've had how many subdivisions going in. And I'm not saying one way or another, but that's just what a day is for us, trying to get this in.
Right, and the front office staff is the ones that actually take the drive around and get the meter readings and stuff like that. They don't do that.
Yeah, but that guy can do it though, right?
Which
Front office guy, you just said the front office.
The front office staff, yeah.
She does.
You said the front office first.
You said front office staff.
It's a little more involved than what you probably think it is.
Yeah.
I guess, I'd be curious, like you mentioned a couple of different people that do some of the groundwork for putting the information in, and you said you'd have to kind of sit down and look and see how detailed that we'd want to get.
Sure.
But did you describe like the surveying, were there two different outfits that would come in for different, or would one of them do the whole city?
This is based on the budget, and it could be two different outfits if you want to save on the cost. We could survey everything in your entire city. It's going to have a cost, and it
Right.
will be more than if we have the other crew, the other company, sub underneath us, come out and do your whole city with a lower grade of accuracy. But that grade of accuracy is the difference between 1 centimeter and 4 inches. And that it's a night and day cost difference, huge. So if that's okay with you, they could do the entire city for all the utilities, all, all the parcels or anything that you need mapped, 911 address points. et
Within
cetera.
4 inches or so.
Correct, within 4 inches.
And do they have, did I understand, do they have the ability to do elevations for sewers and stuff?
And again, where Midland's pointed out that as far as the elevations, it's going to be a little bit rough. On that 4-inch accuracy horizontal, the vertical is going to be a little bit worse. And if you're relying on that for sewer mapping or any type of modeling, you would want to get it surveyed, no doubt. We could split it up so we survey just the manholes and maybe just do GPS 4-inch reads on all the water meters. If you want to prioritize accuracy for one system over another, utility poles usually don't need elevations like you expressed. And that's why they don't care about the verticals on that utility poles. So. But yeah, we would like to put together a proposal that tailors to what your needs are. We just need to sit down with you and discuss what is your budget and what accuracy priorities do you have for the long run.
Okay.
And then we'd come up with numbers for that.
Okay. That's all I got.
Anything else? Again, thank you gentlemen for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
We took a little bit longer than some of us thought, but there was a lot of good information from both companies. And again, appreciate y'all coming out, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
I hope the snow held up.
I hope so too. I'd like to make it back before it gets really bad.
All right, drive safe.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve.
The public hearings, unscheduled, is that still the case?
That's still the case.
All right, let's go through this. Finance, unscheduled, is that still the case? Yes. Permits and license?
None.
Legal, approving final plat of California Lake Estates, plat 2, subdivision board. Needs 2 readings. Further discussion?
Yes, this is a Mylar plat designed by all the stakeholders, property owners, mortgage holders, signed by Pat Olson, conforms to everything that was approved by planning and zoning, and is essentially ready to record. Takes an ordinance to approve it. I've gone over it. Merritt went over it once. The only caveat that Merritt has is that there was a previous copy he marked up and they took back and they made changes. And Merritt likes to take his marked up copy and go back and make sure that the changes were made the way he wanted to, but we don't have access to what he did on the plat itself. I think it is done correctly. I will point out that the ordinance copy that went out had a very big typo in it, and so you have new copies of the ordinance with revised legal description. It should be accurate.
For everyone else, can you explain why Merritt's not here tonight?
Merritt's daughter came back for Christmas break, and his Christmas present were tickets to Missouri playing South Carolina tonight. And those have gotten to be pretty expensive tickets now.
Right.
So he requested permission to not be here, and given the agenda items I gave him such permission, there'll be a little bit that I'll report on for him in a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Just for clarification, this has been approved by P&Z. This was several months ago, and it's just now got the utility and everything in place.
Our guys have to build the water and sewer line, water and electric line, so that's not an issue. The sewer line's in place. Mike, have they passed test?
Pardon me?
Sewer lines, have they passed test?
Yeah, they fixed that one spot today, it looked good, had a rock guy in between the gasket and the piece of pipe. That took care of it. The air tested and it passed, so.
Okay.
They have paved the streets, have hurry matter, to the standards that would be required. They have a letter, irrevocable letter of credit for the sidewalks that are proposing and has had past subdivisions. The sidewalks will be put in as individual lots are sold and houses built. There are executed easements for a temporary cul-de-sac at the far end and for utility lines that aren't within the area of this particular plat, that may lead northward or eastward or westward from this plat. So I think that everything is done and is acceptable. We will, after this is recorded and the easement's recorded, have them execute a document that will give us title to the sewer lines with a one-year warranty, and we'll have to accept that by ordinance. We can do that in January. It's not an issue. It's always done after the fact. I thought one of them might be here tonight. They'll be around tomorrow because they really want to have this approved this month so they can close on some lots before the end of the year.
Okay.
Which
I
can be a good thing.
I would assume that the monuments have been set at this point since the street construction is done.
I cannot guarantee that.
Uh-oh.
I didn't ask.
Alderman Sanders, would you introduce this one, please?
Bill number?
2639.
I move the bill number 2639 be given its first reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to bill number 2639 be given its first reading by title only. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Continue, please.
An ordinance approving the final plat of Cobblestone Lake Estates, Plat 2 subdivision, a subdivision of a portion of the southeast quarter of Section 15, Township 51, North Range 11 West in the city of Centralia, Boone County, Missouri, and accepting dedication to the city of Centralia, Missouri, of the drainage easements, utility easements, and street right-of-way in said plat as the public property of the city of Centralia, Missouri. I move that bill number 2639 be given its second reading by title.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2639 be given its second reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
An ordinance approving the final plat of Cobblestone Lake Estates, Plat 2 subdivision, a subdivision of a portion of the southeast quarter of Section 15, Township 51 North, Range 11 West, in the city of Centralia, Boone County, Missouri, and accepting dedication to the city of Centralia, Missouri, of the drainage easements, utility easements, and street right-of-ways in said plat as the public property of the city of Centralia, Missouri. I move that bill number 2639 be adopted by roll call.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2639 be adopted by a roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, please, Heather.
Alderman Angel,
Yes.
Alderman Borman,
Yes.
Alderman Magley,
Yes.
Alderman Sanders,
Yes.
Alderman Simmons.
Yes.
All right, by your vote, bill number 2639 passes and now becomes ordinance number
2709.
Thank you. Okay. Calling for April municipal elections. Again, this is an ordinance requires 2 readings.
This is an annual rite of passage. We have to observe the forms required by state law. So we pass an ordinance that sets forth the offices that will be up for election or re-election in April. And we deliver a copy of this to Meeting Warren so that we test on the ballot.
Okay. Alderman Simmons, would you introduce this one, please?
Yes, sir. Bill number, please.
2640.
I move the bill number 2640 be given its first reading by title only.
A second.
I
I was looking for it, I'm sorry.
have a motion and a second that bill number 2640 be adopted, given its first reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
A bill to create an ordinance entitled, an ordinance calling for a general city election to be held on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2013, the municipal election day to elect a mayor for a 2-year term, elect 3 aldermen for a 2-year term, and elect a city collector for a 2-year term. I move that bill number 2640 be given its second reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2640 be given its second reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
A bill to create an ordinance entitled, an ordinance calling for a general city election to be held on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2013, municipal election day, to elect a mayor for a 2-year term, elect 3 aldermen for a 2-year term, and elect a city collector for a 2-year term. I move that bill number 2640 be adopted by roll call vote.
Second.
I have a motion in several seconds. That bill number 2640 be adopted by roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Borman,
Yes.
Alderman Magley,
Yes.
Alderman Sanders,
Yes.
Alderman Simmons,
4.
Alderman Angel.
Yes.
All right, by your vote, bill number 2640 passes, now becomes ordinance number
2710.
purchasing chipper.
We discussed this in committee. The recommendation was to buy the demo unit from Voltec, which was the least expensive. And good horsepower, didn't have to pay for it. Extra EPA emission standards. Mark may have more to report on it.
I just would mention that I did check with Haltech, and they do not take any trade-ins. They just mentioned an auction service that they have kind of aligned themselves with the point us towards J.J. Kane, name of that auction service. They have an office in Wentzville, are also located various places all over the country. So it'd be, as far as options go, it's pretty much just an auction. You know, what if you wanted to secure an auction service to go through, or just simply put it in the newspaper and do it ourselves. We may even want to wait on that, you know, maybe, you know, if we do decide to go ahead and purchase a chipper now, it may be wise to wait until the spring. Might be a better time to try to sell it. You know, I mean, that's up to you guys. That's just one thought that we had. So, but that's pretty much our option of getting something for the one we have now is auctioned off in some way, shape, or form.
What's wrong with the one we have now?
20-some years old.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that there's anything. It's not that there's anything wrong with it, and it has 2,500 hours on it. I mean, it is 20 years old. It's just, it's a piece of equipment that, you know, I mean, sure, it's got 20 years worth of wear and tear on it. You have some concerns maybe about parts availability and stuff as it gets older and older. I just would really hate to get into the situation of waiting until equipment just
Breaks down.
quits, and then that's time to replace it. On a chipper, yeah, you might be able to live with that, you know, something like that, because maybe at 2 o'clock in the morning when the lights are out, your chipper's not your most sought after piece of equipment. I just don't want to get in the mindset of not replacing any equipment until it's just absolutely dead. Because when you are out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, you need a piece of equipment, you want it to work, and you want it to work right.
I do understand that, but how long are these supposed to, these chippers are supposed to last a lot more than.
I mean, I couldn't really tell you how many hours and length of years and stuff. You know, I mean, sure, for us, when we don't use it a lot, yeah, you ought to get a lot of years.
Yeah.
I mean, ask one cruise, they probably wear one out in 5 years.
In 5 years, but they
You
get a
know,
lot of hours.
But sure, I mean, they're,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, I mean, it's hard to give you, you know,
Right.
I mean, that's gonna vary for anyone, usually.
Well, as far as engines and all that go, you know, 20 years on an engine, your seals start wearing out, dry rotting, and
Not if it's
You know,
been properly
things start
maintained and used.
going bad.
Not if it's been properly maintained and used. So it'd be like a car sitting in your garage for 25 years.
Right.
If the motor's only got
But-
2,000 miles on it, still a
But
good
what
car.
I'm saying is, you don't wanna wait till it breaks down and then have to go, on short order and buy one.
It probably
It'd
is
be more
to do with-
expensive to buy a new one on short notice.
With getting parts as
Then,
much as
yeah.
anything. You know, a 20-year-old machine like this, getting parts for it is not gonna be easy that much longer.
Can you divide 25-year-old machine versus 2,500 hours? If we could rent one for 25 years every time we needed one? Cheaper?
I don't know.
I don't know. You could probably do that. Have you done it yet?
Pretty close.
What'd you come up with?
It was a lot less than $23,000. Depending on the machine though, I mean, it depends on what you rent, what you need it for.
But can you rent them that easily go?
I'm not sure how readily available chippers are to rent. I mean, I would assume that you can get them somewhere,
Yeah.
but I don't know if like RSC and a lot of the local ones in Columbia, if they,
RSC,
do they have a
yeah.
like 12-inch wood chipper available? Yeah, I mean, I suppose that is.
I mean, we
an
can
option,
keep this one
but
and then, you know, if it did break down, okay, let's go rent one.
You gotta
that's
go get
fine.
it every time. I mean, it would suit me to hire a contractor every time we got a tree to
Well,
trim.
we do hire a contractor every year.
Yeah,
But Ferris, I think what you're getting into is kind of, are you advocating a different philosophy? Because I think that the city for years has gone under the philosophy of having a general replacement program
right.
that's halfway scheduled but flexible with the budget.
Yeah.
And that we've got a certain, I guess, stock of inventory of equipment that we're going to have for the city, whether it be the electrical department or the street department. And we get into, I guess, trying to budget after a general livelihood for some equipment, and just on the street sweeper would be an example. We ran it past
Way past.
where we could get parts and stuff, and I thought we were very lucky to find a street sweeper as new as we did for the price we got. We got out of the rotation of the upgrade and updating to where we were almost out of the market for a street sweeper. And I think what you're kind of giving me the impression of, if you're contemplating a change of philosophy of the way we're doing things. Is that fair?
Well, yeah, I guess it would be, because of course, you know, I've argued every time. We bought something new.
Ferris, I'm slow and I'm just putting it together.
That's true. Yeah, I have argued every time we bought something new. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
How much did we budget for this chipper? Do you remember?
35,000.
35,000. So we're basically saving $8,000.
I took a look what we paid for it and just computed CPA.
Almost 12.
$12,000.
Almost 12.
And obviously, chippers, for whatever reason, have not gone up the same as inflation have. Other things go up more.
I will approve the purchase of the demo unit from Altech for $23,250.
There.
I have a motion and a second that we approve the demo unit wood chipper from Altech for $23,250. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Is that 3-2?
Should we do a roll call vote?
Let's do a
Aye,
roll call.
Beth.
Let's do a roll call vote.
Yeah, it was 3-2.
Okay. Alderman Sanders,
Nay.
Alderman Borman,
Yes.
Alderman Magley,
Nay.
Alderman Angel,
Yes.
Alderman Simmons.
Yes.
Okay. The ayes have it. Correct?
I would be happy to entertain further discussion at another date on the
Future purchases?
future purchases when we have more time.
Okay. Thank you. Maintenance agreement on water testing equipment, Hatch Service Partnership. This is ordinance requires 2 readings. Lynn?
We've discussed this in committee. Prices as shown, it's about the price we've paid in the past. And rather than have to do this needlessly, I did add this time around at the end of section 1 clause that says renewing annually so long as the terms and costs remain the same. So they want more money, I bring it back to you. If they want to continue it, then it doesn't have to come back to you, but it is equipment that was indicated is very important to us and results in considerable savings compared to what DNR might force us to do were we not to have it.
Okay. Alderman Borman, would you introduce this one, please?
Sure, ordinance number,
Bill number 2641.
or bill number, whatever, 2641. I move that bill number 2641 be given its first reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2641 be given its first reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
Bill number 2641, a bill to create an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and city clerk of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute an agreement with Hatch, or H-A-C-H, whatever it is, Service Partnership of Loveland, Colorado for maintenance of water testing and control equipment for the city of Centralia, Missouri. I move that bill number 2641 be given a second reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2641 be given its second reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
Bill number 2641, a bill to create an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and city clerk of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute an agreement with HACH Service Partnership of Loveland, Colorado for maintenance of water testing and control equipment for the city of Centralia, Missouri. I move that bill number 2641 be given its, be adopted by roll call vote.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2641 be adopted by roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, please, Heather.
Alderman Magley.
Yes.
Alderman Sanders.
Yes.
Alderman Simmons.
Yes.
Alderman Angel.
Yes?
Alderman Borman.
Yes.
All right, by your vote, bill number 2641 passes. Now becomes ordinance number
2711.
copper pipe.
This is standard, pipe need, I'm gonna need some extra for out at, Cobblestone that I need to get in fairly quick, and I thought I'd go ahead and just get it, and actually the prices were pretty good for what we've been paying. Kind of spread out a little more than what they've been in the past, but I believe, water and sewer had the lowest price, and I see no reason not to go with them.
Well, I'll make a motion that we accept the water and sewer supply bid for $1,675.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for 500 feet of K-copper 100-foot rolls from water and sewer supply for $1,675. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Contract for subscription to grant database e-civis ordinance. Lynn?
I made passing reference to e-civis at the last meeting. It's a software database that purports to list all grants available from both federal government and most state programs and private companies. I did go over and examine it in operation with the city of Fulton. They have signed on this year. So I saw them in a couple of other cities around here. The mayor and I had looked at it.
Thank you.
I went searching for grants for downtown renovation, like Alderman Sanders had requested we look at, with very limited results. Nothing I found that was new, although we did get into foundations and things like that. And at the time we first started looking at this, the mayor had brought back information from the municipal league conference, and it was running $4,000 a year.
For a city our size.
For us, and I couldn't see the payback on that. And sometimes it pays to delay.
We kind of drug our feet a little bit.
Yeah, we indicated we were interested, but not at that kind of price. And eventually they came down to where it's almost like a television infomercial, but wait, if you sign up before the end of the year for a 3-year contract, they'll do it at $1,000 a year. Under those circumstances, it's my recommendation that we worth the gamble to try it. You don't have to renew it at the end of 3 years. And the reason I'm recommending it is that Creddy indicated that they're going to have access to an intern for the spring semester. That means there's somebody that can use this for not only looking for the kind of grants that Ferris is suggesting, but other grants that might involve economic development and be of broader use, and it's the city or the street department or something that has a need. We might just prevail on Creddy to have that intern do the research for us. Also, particularly since I believe they said that the rural development people were going to help them with grant applications if they did find an appropriate program to go with.
Right. This program also has templates that previous grants that have been awarded, so you've got something to work with, and it kind of helps direct your focus towards what you're actually looking for. Instead of trying to shoot a shotgun pattern, you kind of narrow it in.
It's sort of a self-learning program where it reviews your past search history and gives you some guidance on how to search for future grant programs. I admit I've been pretty negative about grants in the field that Alderman Sanders was suggesting, but it's awful hard to prove a negative, and I've been wrong before, so I think this can be done. I think that at the moment we are $1,000 less than the budgeted line item for various agreements under economic development. If it turns out not to be right and I missed something looking at the history, you can always give Creddy $9,000 instead of $10,000 if that's the way you were leaning last time around. So, I mean, this would be a tool, it would be available to the chief or anybody
Even
else.
the library board.
Yeah.
I talked to,
Pat does a very good job, but it would be available to her also.
because I talked to her about looking into some grants for me and for us, I'm sorry, for the city.
She seems to network very well with other librarians who put her on the trail of various grants that are particular to libraries, but it is indeed an additional tool she can go looking for.
Right. The park board can use it as well.
Yeah. School.
Schools, yeah.
At this price, even though I really hesitate to go for a 3-year commitment, the price seems right, and it's basically a test drive.
So did you counterbid them $750?
No. We just sat on our thumbs, and eventually they emailed us and said, act now before the end of the year, and it'll be 25% of the original price.
Can I move that we send them an email, act now, and we'll give you $750 for 3?
Well, this price is good till the 21st of December, so.
Okay. Well, we missed our window.
Yeah. So, that'll be what, Saturday? Saturday,
Well, yeah, the world ends on Friday, so we don't need to worry about this anyway.
But we didn't get Jim.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, let's just get it just in case we're still here on
I think it's the best way to address your concerns.
Okay. So this needs a ordinance, obviously?
Yes, this is.
Yeah, it is a contract and it's a multi-year contract. It's below 1250, but since it extends for more than 1 year, it should be passed as an ordinance.
Alderman Angel, would you introduce this one, please?
Oh, I might vote against it. I'd rather.
That's okay.
Well, how would that look?
It's been done before.
It's been done before.
We're just reading it.
I've lost it, just a second.
Maybe if we
Yeah, paper.
negotiate the
I haven't
cheaper.
got a good excuse, is what you're
I
saying.
already saved $12,000 on the tipper.
If we see, we've already saved 12,000 on chipper. You said
But that's
so.
electric.
Yeah, that's electric fund, that's different fund.
All right, bill number, please.
2642.
Okay, I move that bill, no?
Yep.
Is that right? I move that bill 2642 be given its first reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2642 be given its first reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
A bill to create an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and city clerk of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute an agreement with Civis
Yes.
Inc. of Pasadena, California for a 3-year subscription to a grants network research and knowledge base for the city of Centralia, Missouri. I move that bill number 2642 be given its second reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2642 be given its second reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
A bill to create an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and city clerk of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute an agreement with Civis Inc. of Pasadena, California for a 3-year subscription to a grants network research and knowledge base for the city of Centralia, Missouri. I move that bill number 2642 be adopted by a roll call vote.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2642 be adopted by a roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, please, Heather.
Alderman Sanders.
Or
Alderman Simmons.
4.
Alderman Angel.
4.
Alderman Foreman.
While I suspect that this is a waste of money, I think there's the chance that it might not be, so I will vote for.
Alderman Magley.
for.
All right, by your vote, bill number 2642 passes and now becomes ordinance number,
2712.
thank you. Old business? You all agree that old business? No. New business? I did have one appointment this evening and it was in your packet. It is it's the appointment of Scott Olson as our city emergency management director. I think we talked about this last month with Zim Schwartz moving to Springfield, that left that vacancy available. And Scott Olson has agreed to fill that role for us.
You have made a motion for this?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we
Accept the mayor's
accept the mayor's appointment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the mayor's appointment of Fire Chief Scott Olson to the Emergency Management Director. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. New business for Alderman, anything? City Administrator?
On behalf of the city attorney, I would like to report that the update on the city code should arrive any time now. It's all been processed, edited. You may correcting ordinances, and so sometime over the holidays I will get the addendums, and I will be asking for you to bring your code books in so I can take pages out and have them Um, And I gather that he will be assisting you in writing a determination from Mr. DeRosa.
Yes. Yeah, maybe with, see if I can meet with him on Wednesday to discuss that.
You mean with what? What's wrong?
They had,
The hearing with Mr. De La Rosa before the mayor, I have 30 days to come up with a decision. And I want to get with the mayor hopefully Wednesday.
You don't have to make a decision in 30 days, though, do you?
Yeah.
It's not
It
mandatory
says,
that you
it
must
says,
make
it
it
says
in
you
30.
shall make a decision.
You shall, or
You
you
shall
have
make a
to.
decision.
Or
Shall
what?
is mandatory.
Or what?
It doesn't give me an or what.
It just says you should, or
It
you
says
shall make a
make
decision.
a decision.
Does it say you must?
Well,
Shall
That's
is
same as-
in legalese language, shall means you must.
As opposed to may, which gives him discretion.
So what happens if you don't?
Well, I do not know.
I do not know
The
either.
world ends.
Until 20.
Yeah. It's not a matter if it's going to be here next month.
So you're a May in that, you're a May in now, sir?
No. I don't know what the repercussions are if I don't.
It was
Okay,
just a question.
yeah, I don't know.
I just knew that it's
Yeah.
30 days, I just didn't know if it was
I would
mandatory.
think that it would make that meeting null and void nearly, that you would have to start over, wouldn't you? Start the process over.
Well, now, is it 30 working days or calendar days or, I don't know. It could be.
Let's just do it as quick as we can.
I think the world's gonna end, so we might as well do it.
Well, regardless, my plan is to meet with the city attorney and discuss that, come up with a plan or something. Hey, Heather. All right, any as may rise? Any as may rise?
Don't forget the tractor parade.
Friday evening?
Tractor
Friday evening. Thank you.
Line up
I
at
do
6,
have-
parade starts at 7.
Thank you, Chief. I think that's Mayor Rice. When did we make horses not be able to be in the parades?
There was
We
action.
did.
I don't know.
It's sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, and they made the rule after a horse got out of control and almost stomped on some kids.
Not here.
Yes, here,
Yeah, it was here.
Wow.
at the anchor fence.
Okay.
So for right now, the determination is that they don't sponsor parades.
What, 2 years now?
Yes.
So the city doesn't have anything against having them, it was the chamber.
I think it was the insurance policy.
It
Well, I know,
actually, with the
That's what I'm
insurance
saying,
policy,
if
yes.
it's, are you-
Yeah.
What
I'm-
is the
I'm-
insurance?
Oh, I do have,
The chamber did not look liability, and the insurance company wanted a lot of money in order to be able to insure against horses.
I don't have it with me, but I should report that Boone County has updated their fees for building permits and plan reviews. And when I can get a chance to put it into ordinance form, I'll make it available to you and recommend its adoption, because the other possibility is we keep our fee schedule and we pay the county their fee schedule, and we basically subsidize building permits, which some instances, for like just to take electric isn't a big deal, but for a major renovation of millions of dollars, such as might be coming up,
Okay.
big ticket item, and I really wouldn't recommend us losing that kind of money.
Right, right.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
We subsidize,
We have a fee schedule that is the same as the county's fee schedule. And when you get a building permit, we charge that, and we basically just pass it right on through to the county. There are some exceptions. We do not charge a fee to other governmental units, churches, And just because we want, it means more to us to have a record of something than to worry about the permit fee on a small scale. We don't charge for like a permit for a shed or backyard garage or something where the fee itself isn't all that great anyway. But if the county is going up by a rather large percentage and we don't mirror that, then we suddenly start subsidizing the cost of the building permit by that margin. And I would have to take into account that in the budget.
So you're suggesting that we might have to follow through with the county?
That's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
Back to, at some point, we might want to revisit whether we don't want to charge permit fees to schools and churches. Because we've eaten quite a few thousands of dollars in these school remodel jobs in new schools and a couple of the assembly buildings that in the last 10 years have been built by various churches. So when I have the fee, I can prepare an ordinance. You can also consider what organizations might or might not continue to be exempt from it.
Orphanages only, everybody else gets paid. That would be my suggestion.
That's for another discussion.
I'm for that, John.
Thank you.
It's gotta be recorded.
Okay,
That's,
no? Lynn?
Yeah.
Thank you. Closed session? Yeah.
you're kidding, right?
No, it's on the agenda, we gotta go in closed session.
It should not be nearly as long.
It may be, but, go ahead.
If you don't talk for long, it won't last as long.
I move that the Board of Aldermen of the City of Centralia, Missouri hold a closed meeting and a closed vote tonight, and the specific reason for closing the meeting and having a closed vote is preparation, including any discussion or work product on behalf of the City of Centralia or its representatives for negotiations with an employee group as provided for under Section 610.021, subsection 9 of the revised statutes of Missouri. I ask that this motion be adopted by roll call vote.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we go in closed session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote, please, Heather.
Alderman Angel,
Yes?
Alderman Borman,
Yes.
Alderman Magley,
Yes.
Alderman Sanders,
Yes.
Alderman Simmons,
Yes.
Alderman Wilkins.
Okay, we're in closed session now. We'll retire to office.
Turn on television for a short while.
Since you're going to have a discussion with the city attorney, does that mean that you've heard received suggestions from Del Rosa's attorney?
Yes, I have.
Thank you.
And those will be taken into consideration.